Good evening, Madam Mayor. It is 6 o'clock and we are live.
Good evening, everybody, and welcome to the regular City Commission meeting at the City Hall Commission Chambers for Tuesday, April 19th, 2022. Welcome, everybody here and watching. Madam Clerk, can we have the roll?
Mayor Betty Resch.
Here.
Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy. Good evening, Madam Mayor. It is, full feedback. Vice Mayor Christopher McVoy.
Here.
Commissioner Sarah Maliga.
Present.
Commissioner Kimberly Stokes.
Here.
Commissioner Ronaldo Diaz.
Here.
Okay, the moment of silence and invocation will be led by Commissioner Stokes.
May our efforts be blessed with insight, guided by understanding and wisdom. We seek to serve with respect for all. May our personal faiths give us strength and act honestly and well in all matters before us.
Amen. And the pledge will be led by Commissioner McCoy.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Madam Clerk, are there any additions, deletions, or reordering?
Two additions, Madam Mayor, under presentations, number F, a proclamation declaring April 22nd through the 30th of this year as International Dark Sky Week. And under consent agenda B, a proclamation declaring April as Water Conservation Month.
Thank you. May I have a motion?
So moved.
Do you have to actually say motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Very good. Thank you very much. First, we have a presentation by Richard Pinsky regarding the recent legislative session. And let me tell you folks who Mr. Richard Pinsky is. He's our lobbyist. He's the person that represents up in Tallahassee. A couple of weeks, months, whatever it was, we went up there. He drug us all around Tallahassee, shaking hands and taking pictures. And we were able, thanks to a lot of effort by Mr. Pinsky, to bring home the money for the water project. We thank you.
We learned a lot.
Take it away.
Absolutely. Thank you very much, Mayor, Commissioner, Manager, Richard Pinsky. And I first want to say thank you so much for scheduling our presentation tonight. It means a great deal to me. I was able to say I can't go to Tallahassee.
We try, we really try. Those math books.
So no, I do appreciate being here. If you don't, can I kind of smooth so
Sure.
so I don't have my back to good, and always good to see your attorney going for civil. So yes, I know you've got a good agenda, and I also want to say congratulations to new Councilman Diaz. Or condolences. No, it's all good.
Give them some time.
It's gonna be good. But we do need to get you in Tallahassee in this session. Ready? Oh, there we go. Oh, wait. Okay, so just briefly, for folks that may not know, Palm Beach County, all legislators usually stick together on behalf of Palm Beach County. Here are the Palm Beach County senators, and I've highlighted Senator Lori Berman, who is our senator and was very instrumental this session in helping us out. Also, here are our House members. They did redistrict, and now Lake Worth Beach will be divided in basically two state representatives. We're going to have Mike Caruso, which was basically east of federal. He is now, according to redistricting, going to be going all the way to Dixie Highway. On the other side, we're now going to be picking up Representative David Silvers. Currently, we have Representative Javante Edmonds, who was sworn in the last day of session.
Yeah,
Perfect timing.
we lost him,
Well, he's still around,
but I mean,
but he's in Tallahassee now, so he does get to actually participate in the process, but wasn't able to participate in the session because of the way that the special elections were designated in time. So, but we are not going to be having as much representation.
yeah,
So,
sorry to hear that.
and then we're also losing Joe DeSello.
And Lori Berman too, right?
Yeah.
You said we're getting Bobby Powell.
Yes. Emily Salzberg is retiring, so that'll be an election as well. So things are changing, all for the good. You want to make a note, especially this week, again, I said thank you for not being there. And then June 13th for all those races that all those individuals, they have to qualify all over again and run all over again, the whole Senate and the entire House. August 23rd is our primary in Florida. We'll start early voting and voting by mail 1st of August. And then, of course, the general election in November. Last day to register to vote for that primary will be July 23rd. And the upcoming dates, just when you thought that things were going to be calm, I just want you to know, session's going to start again November 23rd. And then the mayor is correct. We did make sure that both Commissioner Malega and the mayor and manager put their walking shoes on. So get ready for January and February because we're going to do it again. And then March 7th, just as soon as you think everything is safe, they go back in a session on March 7th, and the last day is May 5th. So a couple of pieces of legislation that I know Lake Worth Beach should be caring about, and that one is the local business protection. This is the piece of legislation that you probably heard that has been enacted and passed by the legislature that any business in the city that's been operating for at least 3 years can claim a loss of business damages from Lake Worth Beach if Lake Worth Beach enacts or amends an ordinance resulting in a loss of revenue to that business of at least 15%. Now that's, of course, never been tested yet. There's a lot of wide berth that can occur from that, but they call this the mother of all preemption bills, and that this will be a way that local businesses, we were able at the very end that League of Cities was able to get in the prevailing side damage attorney's fees. So if the city is prevailing, then at least the other side has got to pay your attorney's fees. And at the end, if you have any questions on this, I'm happy to ask it. Next is the net metering bill, House Bill 741, which also passed. And this bill effectively will begin to phases out rooftop solar new installations beginning in 2024. It's what they call a step down. So it turns into in 2024, instead of getting retail for retail, you'll be getting 75% in 2025. It goes down to 30%. And then eventually by 2028, you will be getting a wholesale price. So right now, for example, if net metering and you're buying your kilowatt from FP&L at a retail rate of 13 cents, and then FP&L will be buying it back from customers. Of course, we have our own utility, and but there's a number of customers in Palm Beach County and throughout the state of Florida that this provides worrisome prospects for the future. It does grandfather existing rooftop solar, but right now that is still being contemplated by the government.
Let me ask you a question about that.
Sure.
So a small company can no longer sell roof. I don't understand this bill.
Okay, so right now, it does not stop anybody from doing rooftop solar. The way that rooftop solar is
Subsidized.
feasible for a
Right.
customer is they'll get a 26% tax credit at the federal level.
Right.
And if you know that your unused kilowatts are going back at the same rate in which you purchased them, basically unused kilowatts at that point, it can, the system, depending on how many typical size house,
Right.
1,500, 2,000 square foot house, actually will probably pay for itself in 7, maybe 8 years. But if you are not getting a retail rate back for the return for the kilowatts, now it doesn't pay for itself perhaps in 13 to 15 years.
Oh.
So it makes it less desirable for folks to install rooftop solar.
Because I remember when we were in Tallahassee, they were discussing this in the session, and the young guy, the guys with the solar companies were like, "You're killing us. This is the end of our business." Sort of counterintuitive somehow.
Yeah, for new installations, it will be current customers. It is something that Lake Worth Utility will want to look at on your rate structure. Net metering is just a rate structure. So it doesn't stop rooftop solar, but it does make it, reduces the incentive to install it.
Great.
And a question, if I was, let's say, a solar installation company, and if we had passed this law in Lake Worth, I would sue Lake Worth as producing my profits.
Yep. And you pay their attorney's fees.
Well, that one you'd win because there's no question.
Well, if you were that side, right? I mean, we wouldn't pay their attorney's fees. Yeah, it's crazy.
Commissioner McBoy, and not accidental that I put those two things together. That's a good example
Yeah.
of business reduction.
Terrible.
Okay, let's, this session, Parrot Cove Stormwater, and a shout out to Brian Shields, who helps me put all this together and put this in speak that I understand. So we did have the Parrot Cove Stormwater project, which was a $900,000 project. We requested $450,000 again. Commissioner Malega, the mayor, the city manager walked the halls and graciously beat on lawmakers to fully fund. We started out at only, I think, 200,000. And by the end of session, we got full funding. So pending the governor's approval in the budget, we got $450,000 for that project. So congratulations to you. Next was the Blueway Trail Portage area. And as I've spoken before and explained during session, that the paddling trail is different than the boat lift. So the Blueway Trail needs portage areas. Representative Will Height and Senator Powell put a request in for $250,000 to create portage areas at Palm Beach County parks, one at Lake Ida, one at John Prince right here. The other one that's slated is at Spillway Park. And there's the money to get it done. So you would be putting in, for example, at the flood control structure here in the C51 on the west side, you'd be able to pick up your canoe or maybe have a concierge pick it up for you and take it to the east side of the flood control structure. And the way that this funding would work, it would be really at no cost to the city of Lake Worth Beach. And that was fully funded, the ask. Next is the Department of Environmental has a program called Resilient Florida Grant Program that was passed during last session. For several reasons, the March 21 election and what was happening post-COVID, the Lake Worth Beach staff and myself had a challenge. Again, shout out to Juan for putting up with me, but we had a difficult challenge in coming up with a project ask. And so what we decided to do was take advantage of this grant program. And again, Brian Shields helped put together the ask for the South Palm Park sea level rise mitigation. That project cost was $600,000. We put in for 50% match, $300,000, and we were awarded that grant this session that was funded in the budget. And then the other one we put in as well. So there just would not be as many legislative asks. And that was the Eden Place, same project cost, same 50% request, and that was fully funded as well. So again, congratulations to you.
Are all of these waiting on the governor's approval?
Actually, I'm sorry, the grants are not.
Right.
They were funded, they're fully funded and awarded.
So South Palm Park and Eden Place are safe, and then we're hoping that
Yes.
there's no
That's a
bad
good-
blood.
And Commissioner's like, that's a good word, safe.
Yeah, yeah.
The other ones, not so.
Not so
safe. But there's so much, I mean, we passed, just a sidebar, we passed $112 billion budget.
Wow.
Last year, it was a $101 billion budget.
And now it's 160.
And now it's 112. Now, it is true, 9 billion of that went into reserves that the governor wanted to have a reserve,
Yeah.
healthy reserve fund, but still, so all the projects, and it's an election year, so, folks are feeling good, but we'll see what happens. Then we did submit, let me just go back. So that, just to make sure that was funded, and because it went through the agency, that's done. The other one, the Blueway and Parrot Cove, that's what they call a member project. So it was outside of the agencies, outside of the budget line items, and there's an addendum to the budget of all those member projects. That's where that's residing, and that's where the trail is residing, and that's what the ones that the governor typically looks at to see what regional impact are they. And that's why we feel good about our projects, because you've got the Lake Worth Lagoon, we have a significant impact. We're trying to reduce our nutrient overload into the intercoastal, and Blueway is certainly a regional throughout Palm Beach County project. So we feel good, but it's up to the government. So where do we go from here? The mayor asked, and manager asked me to begin thinking about how we go forward with grants. And because it is a great way that stays, to Commissioner Stokes' point, it is a way to stay within the agency budgets that get either fully funded or not fully funded, and you're not you're not veto proof, but you are all but veto proof. So the first would be the FERDAP, which is the Florida Recreation Development Assistance Program. This year there was $10.5 million worth of projects throughout the state of Florida, 50,000, 200,000, all different levels. But cities submitted their grants for FERDAP. Unfortunately, the deadline for this year, I think, was first. But you submit for your park upgrades, and then if they're approved by the agency, they go into the budget. And so this year is a good year because all FERDAP was 100% fully funded. So anybody that a project at Lake Clark Shores got $110,000 for pickleball court. So it's a great way to work within the FERDAP.
And we had no asks for that. We had not submitted. And this year, when do we start?
Well,
We start drafting our asks.
You need to start drafting your ask, and again, so what is it that's going to have a great impact regionally? We don't like things, but for the parks, it's the same way with this cultural grant and museum grant program. There was millions of dollars funded in the budget this year because everybody put in for cultural and museum grant program. So whatever historical things you may have, the city hall right here is a historical building, and you may want to create some sort of a feature where folks are able to understand the history of this building, and you want to create a display or whatever you may want to do, or certain things that have to get done to the building, that could actually fall under the cultural and museum grant program.
And again, that was in April 1st.
No, that one, actually, I think that one's coming. I should have had these. When you asked me to do this, Mayor, I did all of that homework, and I realized I walked in.
The dog ate it.
I walked in with my good looks and thinking that would be enough, and but I have all
You'll
this
get that.
information. Yes. The next is the FEMA Critical Facility Needs Grant Program. This is a great one for any fire, any emergency shelter upgrades, anything that you need to do. There's plenty of money in this critical needs grant program that's available as well. And it's also another one that cities access. And then the DEO grants. So I think you've got in the past, I think Juan told me that you actually have you've gotten some plenty technical grant assistance grants in the past, which is good. But let's say you want to begin looking at the areas in and around the Gulf Stream, and how it may tie into the south end of the golf course or the waterfront, and you need some master planning money to do all of that, or what could you possibly do? Anything that, as a result, is going to translate into jobs or tax base increase. DEO has got significant amount. There were some grants that got approved in the budget through this program that were as much as 1.5 million. There was a $2 million one. I mean, there was some hefty money this year. And finally, guess what? it's around the corner. We need to start preparing for what our ask is. Like I said, because of the 21 election and because of COVID, all the things that were going on. And we did not yet have Manager Davis on board, so we were not ready the way we could be. We had a great year. This is nothing to be snuffed at. You got a couple $1 million. This is great, but we can be far more prepared and ready to go up there and get our fair share.
Well, the timing is good because we have a visioning session coming up, so we can all have an opportunity to talk about this stuff
And budget.
and budget, totally. Yeah.
And I'm happy, if invited,
Of course.
to attend any portion thereof or give any input that you may need.
Yeah.
So any other questions? But that's basically my presentation.
Any questions? Anybody have any questions, comments?
On the first one, and I don't know what the name for it is, but the business 15% bill, the first one you talked about. What's the anticipation that you hear around Tallahassee on legal challenges?
Well, the governor's got so the League of Cities was a little awkward this session because there was the sovereign immunity bill was also going on at the same time. There's a couple of things going on. So the League of Cities made a calculation and they actually ended up in some degree supporting a bill that traveled with this. And that was before any issue comes before you now, before you get to this Local Business Protection Act, you will have to prepare a worksheet where all the questions of impact are asked. What's the impact to jobs? What's the impact to local businesses? So basically the legislature, when they introduce a bill, the staff analysis has like 15 questions that have to be asked. You are now going to be burdened with that. The League of Cities supported that. And so I'm imagining that when this one goes, the first lawsuit against a city, you're going to have the League of Cities trying to go in as a friend of the court, as well as other entities probably going in as well. You're going to have
On our side or on
our side?
On our side, you're going to have the business community lined up on the other side, of course. And so it'll be very interesting to see how it plays out. One, it may be a test case, it may not. It may be something legitimate. I mean, the city of Miami Beach right now got their stuff done under the wire for this bill. But Mayor Gelber, shut everything down from 5 a.m. in the morning to 2 a.m. Well, those businesses that thrive on streams of alcohol to the wee hours of the morning now won't have 3 or 4 hours of added income. So will that total 15%? So there are instances that may be considered legitimate.
It's gonna be retroactive if they've already passed. So Miami would be
There
safe.
there was originally a retroactive provision.
Right, that's what I thought.
But he hasn't signed this into law yet, correct?
Oh, he will.
It's not.
But he hasn't yet. It doesn't go into effect until he signs.
And
Right.
so there aren't exceptions for like public health and safety.
No exceptions in there.
Yet another unfunded mandate.
Yeah.
I mean, that's the burden on our staff to do that. If we want to pass it, it's crazy. And
Yeah.
none of us is pleased. But at least they didn't raise the sovereign immunity.
No, that's true. But you should count on that coming.
Really. I should explain what that is. The legislature wanted to, we have sovereign immunity. If the city is sued, we have a level of $200,000 that we're responsible for. If it's more damages, it goes to Tallahassee, to the state budget. What they wanted, so that first $200,000 comes out of our pocket. What the legislator wanted to do was to make that $200,000 $1 million. So before we could go for any help, we would have to pay $1 million
Could you imagine?
out of our
frivolous
pocket.
lawsuits?
That's basically your deductible.
It's $1 million deductible. There's something about Tallahassee that does not like local government. I don't know. Thank you so much. This is really helpful. And like I said, this year, we're going to be a little more proactive.
Great. Thank you.
than we
very
were.
much.
Thank you so much.
Thank you, Richard.
Tallahassee.
They just get your feathers ruffled, don't they?
They do.
They
They
do.
do, because they have so much power and they just, like the sunshine law, we have to follow the sunshine law. They don't. Next, we have a wonderful happening moment in our city hall. I'm gonna get teary-eyed. It was so beautiful. A couple of weeks ago, Carmen and Sarah and I went to the Lakewood High School to see the Suits for Seniors. Robing really is what it is. Jacketing, okay? You're suiting. And Suits for Seniors, Tay's not here tonight? No, he's in Tallahassee, right? He's at work. Okay, so does one of you want to just quickly explain what Suits for Seniors? I see a hand raised. You could do that, absolutely. Come on up. Good evening.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, and Commissioners. My name is Gina Barozzi. I am the COO of Suits for Seniors. I have the honor to stand before you to share the success of the program and what these high school seniors have embarked through these 8 weeks. Through the 8 weeks of the program, they have covered topics on financial literacy, mentoring, financial literacy, college preparation, personal development, and life skills. And usually on the completion of the program, each student is suited for lifelong success. So what you guys were able to attend was our suiting ceremony, where we were able to suit all of our seniors to show that the milestone. Javante Edmonds went to college and figured that once he wore a suit, that's when his perspective of life changed. So the suiting is definitely a milestone just to show the success that they will be and to suit them for tomorrow's leaders.
It was amazing. I mean, just to watch that ceremony. Next year, we have to be at, everybody's got to be at it. It was just so wonderful. So we have certificates for these young men, and hopefully next year.
Madam Mayor, may I say that
Yeah, sure.
the funding came from Healthier Lakewood Beach for the kickoff of this program in the high school.
Yeah.
So we as a body need to think about this during budget on how we can help continue this great program in the high school.
Mhm. Another thing about this, that the guys, when we were there, we were talking about, I don't remember who it was because there's so many people. We used to have, I would like to bring our kids into City Hall. We used to have, like, it was, I think the American Legion did, like, Citizens Day or something. But we have such wonderful kids in our local high school. We have a local high school. Not everybody has that. So I would like to, talk about when we get to budgets and when we get to visioning, things like that. I want to bring these kids into our City Hall and show them how the city, these are the mayors and the commissioners and the businessmen of the future we hope they stay in Lake Worth and continue to succeed and provide for us. So well, I just, let's talk about that when we do that. So I'm going to come down and read your names, and then we're all going to come down. And the paper's not here, but hopefully somebody can take a picture of these fine young men. And forgive me if I don't get your names. Be kind. Curvins Jean. Not everybody's here. If they're not here, we'll just put this up. Guido Vitalis. Here.
Face you guys.
Nope, face, you can face out there, whatever you want. Yep.
There you go.
Okay, with a whole group gets up, we're gonna take. Would you like to say something?
I don't know. It's a chance of a lifetime.
Well, we're delighted to have you here.
Thank you.
Thank you. I'm gonna mess this one up, I know. Schneider Yenelis? How bad was that? Thank you so much, really, this is wonderful. Samuel Jean-Marie. Franzlet Anchaudot. Ed Racine. Curvins Lomias? Nope. No. Colin Drummond? Nope. Chris Sign? And Judana Leno. Last but not least, here we go. Congratulations. Let's congratulate them. I can't tell you how emotional it was to see these young men. When the ceremony started, they had their pants and their white shirts and their ties, and they looked lovely coming down. But when they came up on the stage and each one got their suit jacket put on, I was in tears. It was so moving because they've earned this. This is something that worked hard to do. And so we're all very proud of you. Yeah.
Thank you.
Would somebody take a picture?
I will.
Oh.
You want to come down?
We're gonna have a whole condition. Also proud of you. I know, right? I'll never pass it down. And you're tall, which is very.
Are we all for here?
Whatever. No, spread yourself.
Okay, ready?
Yep.
1, 2, 3. I'm gonna take another one.
Okay.
1, 2, 3. There you go.
Go Trojans.
Did you take a picture?
What's up?
Come on now.
Congratulations. My teacher.
One more picture.
Yeah, why don't you come up with us? Yeah.
Come on, Carmen. I can send it to Mark. Promise, Carmen. Get it. One, two, three. All right. Two, three. Thank you. Oh, just come back this.
Thanks for.
Thank you so much.
I'm gonna give you the certificates that we have to keep them up here. You can put them right on the desk. Right there. Thank you so much. This is what the good part about this whole. Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah. Remember I did that a few months ago.
Remember?
Yes. Yeah. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
Now that's the fun part. Next,
More fun stuff.
more fun stuff. But I don't see many people here from that.
4, 5.
Okay, let's see. Next thing, which is, and I said to the young men, if they don't want to stick around for the rest of the meeting, our feelings will not be hurt.
Run for the hills. Go, run.
Get out while you can.
Or if you want to stay and learn about government,
You're welcome to
stay.
stay. Okay, now another nice thing we did, we had, volunteer citizen participation is so key to how the city runs, the input from people and the feedback and the time that we all greatly appreciate. We understand what that kind of thing does to your life. So we have certificates of appreciation to the Charter Review Committee. They met, they were very efficient, they came up with some really good ideas and they all passed. So I am going to read out their names. If the folks that are here, you want to come up, get your certificate. So Ramsey Stevens, Sam Goodstein, Dave Wilson, Wes Blackman, Joyce Brown. Jerry Clairday. Anthony Gallegos. Daniel Morgan. No, not here. William Monroe. Not here. Deborah Robert.
Yes.
Zadi Shamsibasha. No. Well, look who shows up. Just saying.
I was just the opposite of since we're seniors. They had all boys. You want to give Melissa one girl showing up.
Sarah, you want to come down also?
Oh, of course. Oh my God. The ladies have asked me, the ladies who showed up for this have just asked me to have Melissa come up as part of this because she was the liaison between, yeah. Make yourself a certificate. Why don't you hand them out?
Thank you so much.
And by the way, a lot more of the committee said they were going to attend, so I don't know where they are.
We always have a forum.
Yes,
We
we
always have a
do.
quorum.
That's right, yeah.
A good looking one too.
Madam Mayor, do you all want to stand up to be part of it?
Whatever you want us to do.
Yay.
Fun. It's the most diverse hair coloring
Oh, yeah.
any committee on this.
It's creative.
I love it.
And it's not only the.
If I showed up-
He's the city photographer today.
I'd love it.
Congratulations.
Thank you very much, really.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Melissa.
Oh,
You're
yeah.
very welcome. It was my pleasure.
Isn't she a pleasure to work with?
All right, I'm going back to my cubby hole.
You're a little,
I have my.
it's a rare,
I'm gonna do tag team clerks tonight.
it's a rare personal sighting of Miss Melissa. Okay. Next, we have a presentation by Captain Todd Bear of the PBSO, his quarterly report. And I want to thank the PBSO for the work that they do here and take it away.
All right, good evening, everyone.
Good
Thanks for
evening.
having us. I'm back with Lieutenant Levine, my executive officer. Microphone in my face.
You have to go right close to it.
Tonight's presentation is on crime data, though I did include some community policing stuff as well. I know Commissioner Diaz is new for the contract. We alternate quarterly with crime data and community policing stuff, which coincides with the release of the UCR data from the state. Next slide.
UCR,
Uniform crime report.
thank you. Just
So tonight I'm going to cover the crime data from 2021, which is the most recently released data for the year, the plan for addressing the crime, some community policing stuff, and then overdoses are one of the things that I've been asked to have on for the last 7 years to maintain, see where we're at with that, which is getting better. Next slide. That is what the uniform crime data looks like. Don't worry about trying to squint your eyes. I
Yeah.
have a bigger slide on the next one with the actual numbers, but that's just to show that that's what comes out from the state. It's a breakdown of all of the crime we track, which is the index crimes, violent crime, property crime, et cetera. Next slide. The good news, overall crime in Lake Worth Beach for 2021 was down almost 26%,
wow.
which is incredible.
Why does it say 2019?
25.9.
No, at the top, 2019 crime data.
There was one typo.
Typo.
That's-
Sarah had to find.
Well, I'm just wondering if we're comparing, that's why.
No, that's my mistake. That's from 2021.
Okay.
And it's down almost 26%.
That's amazing.
Violent crime, 9.3, and property, 22. It's a big decrease. We still obviously have work to do. Last year, crime, if you recall, was up a bit. The first 6 months of 2020 were rough when we had the shutdowns and such. We were up double digits the first half of 2020. The second half, we did really well, but not enough to bring it in the negative. I think we were around 3% increase for 2020. So to go down almost 26 in 2021 are excellent. It's different results than a lot of the other cities around the country are seeing. I looked on the FDLE site. It's not officially posted yet to compare, the other coastal cities in the area. Most of our contracts did well for 2021 as well, but I can't compare the municipalities yet. But I do see the news like everyone else that around the country, a lot of cities are seeing spikes and we saw big decreases. So that's very encouraging. The next slide is the ups and downs. Murders did go up from 3 to 5 in 2021. Sex offenses were up 5.9. And then you see the robberies down to 31% was huge. I attribute a lot of that to the violent crime grant we've been doing the last 3.5 years. And we went down from 140 in 2020 to 96 in 2021. That's the first time that I know of, and I've been working in and out of Lake Worth Beach for about 27 years, that we were in double digits for robberies. In fact, the last year we were a police department before the merger, we had 287. So to be down to 96, I'm
Easy.
thrilled. And to be down from 140 in 2020, I'm thrilled. That's our number one problem crime. If you were asking me what our number one crime has been for the last 15 or 20 years, it's robberies.
Okay.
Ag assault's kind of held steady, which they've been doing. Burglaries is another big one, down 20% to 130. The last year before the merger, 770. So to go from 770 to 130 over
Wow,
the course of the merger is pretty tremendous.
770.
Auto thefts,
Captain Bear, for the people who are listening at home, could you explain the difference between robberies and burglaries? Because you told me that people get them confused all the
you
time.
get it. A lot of times people say, oh, my house got robbed. You can have a home invasion robbery, but that's very rare. That's when someone forces their way in your house and robs you at gunpoint or knife point. Burglary is typically when something's taken, if you come home and you were gone and you come home and your stuff's missing and someone broke in the back door, that's a burglary. If someone goes into your car, whether it's open or not, they steal your stuff, that's a burglary. Robbery is the theft with force or the threat of force versus just stealing from your house or your car
Thank you.
or your business. But burglaries are down 20%.
That's,
The reason robberies and burglaries are high number crimes, so to bring those down that much is what really puts that 26%. We obviously, murders are the most serious, but there are low number crimes. So going from 3 to 5, we went up 2, dropping, we've dropped hundreds of robberies over the years. That makes a big dent in our overall crime rates. Auto theft, same thing. We were down 21% to 108. Last year, pre-merger was 214.
wow.
And these trends have followed. I mean, I don't want to keep going back. 2008 is a long time ago now.
Yeah.
We used that as a benchmark from the merger. But you just see the trend. If I pulled all the graphs, it's going downward, from that point onward, with a couple little bump years like 2020.
Can we get the numbers for the sexual offenses? I feel like every time I see that number, it's one of the ones that continues to increase every time, but we don't have the actual numbers.
My previous Major Keene spent most of his career working in that area in SVU, sex crimes and such. And he brought up a good point on that. Number one, they did change what is classified as a sex crime a few years ago, and that made everyone's numbers go up in that regard. It went from just sexual batteries, I believe, to other sex offenses, would raise the overall numbers. And then they've seen in his career working over there that there's more people coming forward than used to come forward. So I never like to see a crime increase as a good thing, but it's good that people are coming forward. We saw that similarly with robberies at one point, where the documented people who were victims at one point were getting robbed and they were afraid to report it. And they started reporting it more, so the numbers went up, but it's a good thing because that way we can find the bad guys and get them.
Yeah, that's true.
Did we increase our services that are available to the people that are reporting those sex crimes?
That's built in.
Yeah, that's
Well, as more
somewhat
people
built
come,
in,
can we
but
handle-
that's a yes. There's also a yes. Part of the grant we've been doing with the DOJ for the last 3 years, one of the things we were able to fund was a victim advocate.
Okay.
Prior to that, we had victim advocates in violent crimes division, in sex crimes, but we're the first district that's ever had a victim advocate that works out of our district every day. And she's been there for about a year and a half. And that's been wonderful because there's things that I don't know that victims are entitled to, because I've always been on a different side of the equation. She's familiar with all the resources that are available to victims, whether it's a victim of a burglary or a sex crime or robbery. So that's been a great addition as part of that grant. And I'm hoping we're going to be able to keep her once the grant funding runs out.
I, as a former sexual assault counselor for Palm Beach County, that program is still in effect. At the time of the crime, we were called out to the crime scene or the hospital or whatever was happening. That program is still going on, correct? Yeah.
I've been off the road myself for a while, but
It's a great program. It is a great program. And
Madam Mayor, I just want to say that the Captain Bear was nice enough to connect me with Lourdes, the victim advocate. She was here last week and left us some information with those applications and what resources are available. I gave it to Sylvina today and asked her to make it accessible to everybody.
Great.
So in case we had any questions, you would know what is available.
And then lastly,
our district only?
Yep.
Good.
for now,
Thank you.
yes. And I don't want to keep beating up with stats, but the overall crime index, which is the sum of the violent crimes and the property crimes, which is what the state tracks and what determines our crime rate and whatnot. That was 1,348, which again, the last year before when PBSO came on board, it was 2,773. So it's half. And that's what determines your crimes per however many thousand and what your crime rate is in Lake Worth Beach. That's what those websites use to determine, you know, your safety factor and things like that. So it's great to see that number come down. Next slide.
Actually, before the next slide, auto thefts, and you don't really have to go back, but are auto thefts complete car thefts, or does that include like parted out, like catalytic converters? I know are on the rise.
That's auto, that's where they take the whole car.
Okay.
The thefts from the auto, they go under the theft category.
Okay.
And then this, I know you can't see as well, this is year to date. This is a kind of screen that the lieutenant and I look at daily. It shows our weekly crime data and activity, monthly, quarterly, year to date. The importance there, which is on the far right, is all those green arrows are down except one. The only red arrow, which is up for the year, is business burglaries, went from 12 to 16 at this point last year. So on top of really good almost 26% decreases overall for 2021, everything's down for 2022. Don't want to jinx it. Hopefully we get through the summer, which is typically our busiest time, but that's a good start. The year's flying by, it's almost summer and we're looking good. I like to be looking like that when we cruise into summer because that's when it gets a little busier. As you noticed in just the last week or so, our case of interest have picked up, which is typical as it gets warmer. Next slide.
Captain Bear, I just have a question on that previous one. It shows homicides, 0, but on the previous slide, it said we had 5.
This is this year.
Right, that was last year.
This is
So I'm saying where it says
at
21,
that time last year, we didn't have any. They all occurred after.
so they all occurred after April
April.
17th, so after tax day, okay. Just,
Don't
just,
know if correlation comes out with that. What are we doing to address the crime? We're going to stick to the plan we've been using the last few years. It's been working. The playbook's been working. We're making tweaks here and there. The lieutenant and I emphasize a two-pronged approach where we focus on the index crimes, your violent crime and your burglaries and thefts and such. But we try to give almost equal emphasis to the quality of life stuff that people see every day. Because we do realize, I can tell you crime's not blue in the face, but if your perception isn't the same, then there's a lag there. It's what you see every day. It's not the quality of life stuff, which is what we mainly discuss when you all call me. That's the stuff you see every day. If your house didn't get broken into and it's not your friend or neighbor, you don't know there may have been a bunch of burglaries around you. But you know when you see some of the quality of life stuff. So we meet with every deputy when they get here to our district and we go to lineups and we're constantly preaching almost equal. Of course, if you're out on a quality of life violation and the alert tone goes off for serious crime, you have to drop what you're doing and go. But when you're not, we're as happy when we make a quality of life violation case as we are with a lot of the traditional more serious stuff, because it makes a difference in perception. And we get that. And there's a lot to do.
I think we almost should have a separate category for bike theft.
Bike thefts have been going down over the years.
Really?
They're tremendous. They're still a big number. That's our number one theft.
Right.
By far.
Thanks.
I know we're gonna get into overdoses later, but as far as the indices and stuff, are drug-related crimes not counted? And are those crime stats,
Drug-related.
selling drugs?
Yes, they're not index crimes. They fall under other, but they are we track them.
And the state tracks those as well?
That I'm not 100% sure. That's not on our UCR reports unless they put it under other. I would have to go back to that. We definitely do track it. As you know, the drug trade fuels a lot of our crime.
I would love to know how much you guys seize like in a year, like how much you take off the streets with your, with your streets
That
team.
should be, by the way, they're hot off the press. I got your semi-annual reports. Those come out twice a year for the contract. They're full of data. Stuff I can't go into tonight, but it's got everything required in the contract. And I believe that's in there. If not, I can get it for you. The other things we do, we're constantly working with our grants division. As I mentioned, the 3-year, which turned into a 4-year DOJ grant, which wraps up this year, was tremendous. It was between us and one of the other contract cities, and we got it. That's done a lot. That's done wonders for crime in Lake Worth. We had a railroad grant that worked really well a couple years ago. We couldn't get it last year because of that, and we put in for it this year, and it's a much larger grant. And as you know, we've been having a lot of train strikes and such, so we're very optimistic we're going to get that one. And then we have a traffic safety grant that we've been working. So anywhere we can get those grants, we're always lobbying on our behalf. The Real-Time Crime Center, we were the first district to work hand in hand with them, and we still are. And that program keeps growing and evolving. We went from a few cameras and license plate readers to the point where for several years now, we've had every ingress and egress for the city covered with a tag reader. And we have about, I believe, 75 cameras that are monitored. Color, HD, tilt pan zoom, and they're monitored by personnel that are off-site. They call things out to our guys and girls. That's been very effective. My community policing and street crime deputies, you see a lot of their cases they make. I call them like my special operations people. They don't have to take road calls. They don't have to take calls for service unless it's really serious. So they're able to do a lot of that quality of life stuff and community policing. So they're an integral part of the operation for us.
Going back for just a second to the Real-Time Crime Center, you've recently been trained on something, haven't you? The body cameras?
I'm on the body camera team.
Okay, and that's coming along?
That is coming along. Initially, 9 companies expressed interest. We demoed them. We put out our request for proposal with our requirements. Three put in for it. I spent 3 weeks, a week with each one. With the rest of
Okay, that's what I am.
demoing them and trying them. So now we're at the point where powers higher than me will decide which company of the 3 and then start the implementation process. I knew this would come up. I asked my major if he had any kind of timeline, and he said it sounds like the beginning of the year to start implementation. There is a lot of talk about starting it in Lake Worth.
That was my next question.
We're a good spot to do it because we're kind of geographically, we're not that big, but yet there's a lot of deputies and we're busy. So that isn't for sure, but like that.
Great,
So,
thank you.
fingers crossed. We work closely with the state attorney's office and the U.S. attorney's office, trying to make our cases stick. We try to target the ones that we know are really doing the robberies, the burglaries, things like that, to try to get those sentences a little stronger than the random person or the teenager or things like that. And then the special operations, we do the saturation patrols. One thing that grant funded that was really effective, we started about halfway through, was doing these suppression details where one of the supervisors, oftentimes the lieutenant, would grab 5 or 6 or 7 deputies and they'd spread out in different parts of the city where the crime data is saying, hey, there's been robberies on Friday nights. We're gonna, at these locations, we're gonna put you at these 6, 7 locations. They just sit there, talk to people, put their overhead lights on, things like that. And hopefully if someone is coming into the area to say rob someone and they like to target a gas stations or the convenience stores, they see and they're like, hey, not tonight, and they leave. I think that was one of the big reasons.
Visibility.
The numbers down is the raw visibility.
Yeah, that's great.
We've done a lot of other special things. You see the prostitution details. We do burglary details where we put a bike out somewhere and monitor it, things like that. So those make a difference on the special operations and the saturations. And next one. I remember Commissioner Stokes asking me last time to kind of define community policing, so I did. This is the actual textbook definition that I prefer. I mean, if we asked 100 people what community policing is, you'd probably get about 90 different answers. It's something you kind of know when you see it. This is what is closest for me to the definition. I'm not going to read it to you, but that's what I believe it is. To boil that down to a nutshell, which is what we preach to the guys, I believe it's knowing and working with the community to solve problems and improve quality of life. For me, that's it in a nutshell. Here's
And developing, I mean, to me, it's like developing a relationship, that, you know, people, guys on the streets walking, they know their neighbors, they know.
It's all about relationships with not only the citizens, but the nonprofits, city staff. It takes the village, as they say.
It is.
That definition, it just reads a little sterile to me.
Yeah, that's the book definition. For me, it's knowing everyone and working together to solve your problems and you know, improve quality of life.
And to make it so that people aren't afraid to report crimes, which I hear you saying that's getting better. Great.
We kind of, you can go to the next one. To elaborate on it, we, you know, a lot of times we put up there, you know, all these types of events, which are great because, you know, that's part of it. I believe the community interaction and seeing us in a non-traditional law enforcement way where we're not writing you a ticket or you're not a victim or a suspect. I think that's important that they, you know, the kids and everybody frankly sees us as, you know, people. We're people too. I take this off on weekends and I'm a person. I don't wear this on weekends unless I have to. And then the other part is the problem solving. You know, it'll be the next slide. On this slide, you all know we opened the PAL Center. They've done a lot of renovations, gotten a lot of equipment. It's really looking great. We're looking for opening, like a soft opening, I believe in May, and then a full-on opening when school starts after the summer. And we'll have some kind of celebration for that. Certain things we do like CEPTED, that's crime prevention through environmental design. Commissioner McGroy was talking about that location up on North Day, the apartment complex up there. And we brought them in and they worked with the management there and did a lot of suggestions. They did a whole plan of what they could do to kind of harden the target, lower crime, fix up the property. Those are a lot of that. To me, that's also community policing. Spring break, a couple of you came down with Pastor Cato, Commissioner Maliga. That was a great event. Pastor Cato down at the New Hope Missionary Church asked us to do a spring break event with him for the week of spring break. The community policing deputies went all over the place. They went horseback riding. They took them to a beach cleanup at our beach. They did all kinds of stuff.
That's right. I ran into them at the beach cleanup.
They were doing the beach.
That was the coolest thing.
That was cool. That was part of Pastor Cato's spring break that we
Yes.
partnered with him.
Yeah.
We made a lot of connections there, networking with another nonprofit that I think is going to be phenomenal.
Yeah, no, it was very
That was a
impressive.
great, that was a success. And we recruited a couple PAL kids. So it was a win all the way around. And then we had a law enforcement day with For the Children. Some of those photos are from Pastor Cato's event and some are from the For the Children Day.
What is the nonprofit?
Quiz.
I don't want
Pop
to.
quiz.
But it's a great gentleman out of Delray Beach who's done a lot of things in Delray Beach and he wants to bring it to Lakewood Beach.
All right, can you email it to us when you get to
I
it?
can. He was really impressive. That was a great connection.
I'm like, I want to be impressed and excited like you are.
I will email that to you. Next slide. And this is some of the problem solving stuff that we do on the community policing end. With all the train strikes and such, we did a 2-week railroad safety initiative. We wrote hundreds of tickets and warnings for railroad related violations, going around the tracks, turning where you're not supposed to. It's so preventable. If you watch the bright line go by, it literally takes about 8 seconds, I think, and it's gone. I definitely
It
would.
boggles my mind that people try to get around.
The time from the gate going down and the train getting there, it's half a minute.
Yeah.
Yes, not even close to a minute.
Yeah.
I don't understand. We made a difference because it slowed down and we're about to do I'll give it away, but we're about to do like a maintenance for a week to try to keep those strikes from happening. Not would we, I'm not going to fix it, but I work closely with the Bright Line security staff and they said before we did that, Kenya Beach and Lakewood Beach were the two biggest areas for train strikes. Miami and West Palm.
Do you provide
A lot
like,
of foot traffic.
do you provide like reports after these initiatives to Brightline on like how to improve that
Yes, I think that went
infrastructure?
out right before you went to Commissioner Robinson. But yeah, that's a definite, that's one of the definite case of interest.
Yeah.
We send out. We do regular prostitution operations. I believe it's gotten better. That's something we always have to stay on top of. We just did one and I think we got 10 or so.
And I saw you arrested some men too, which I
And
was.
that was mostly the Johns, 2 or 3 prostitutes, but it's something we stay on top of. It's a definite quality of life issue. We did a Royal Quincy Park District Initiative, with Commissioner Maria. That's something we have to maintain. We've done, that'll be the second one we've done, trying to keep it shenanigans to a minimum. The El Bodego Plaza was having issues. There was actually, that was a busy drug house across the street that was fueling some of that. You saw that one, the case of interest. We did a search warrant with narcotics and we took care of that. But there was a lot of other stuff with that, with the drinking and things like that. So we did a couple week initiative there and it helped fix up that area. Similar with 7 South in Dixie, another area that often needs maintenance. We did a month-long initiative there. Noise complaint, we had an issue with a particular house down in the Richmond Palms neighborhood. We worked on that one for quite a while. Noise is a whole different animal. I've been working with Alex from Mr. Torsivia's office, who's awesome. And he should have, we're looking at redoing the ordinance a little bit. And ironically, we found we came up with a great idea to redo it. And we found out it's exactly what it was a year before I got back here in 2015. They had changed it to what we are now because you were having trouble on the back end with giving someone due process to argue if we cited them for noise. We feel strongly that right now we have the option of a warning or a criminal notice to appear.
Mhm.
And we just feel that if you're first or second violation, it's kind of tough to hit somebody with a crime. And if you're a county resident with ID, you are allowed to, give you a court date and release you.
Right.
If you're not, you have to actually go to jail. And even if you are, if you miss your court date or something, you're gonna get stopped one day, you're gonna have a warrant, you're gonna go to jail.
Now, who gets ticketed? The manager, the owner? Who?
That's where it gets.
That's the,
tricky.
right? I asked the question, right? What can I say?
We have to cite, preferably the manager. In certain cases, maybe we can cite the DJ, depending on how it's set up or who we warn. But it gets tricky.
Yeah.
But we feel there should be like a steps where there's a warning, a fine, a bigger fine, and then maybe the rest. So that's what he's preparing to bring back to you. And the reason they did away with that was there was no due process. But now you have special magistrate. For the fines, they could go to special magistrate. And if that fourth or subsequent offense is an arrest, that is handled at the court.
It's not just a notice to appear. It's if it is, if you live here.
It would be a warning, a fine, a bigger fine, and the fourth one would be a notice.
Okay.
Right now, that's our only option, so we end up doing a lot of warnings, and at some point, people, if they're not getting it, they.
And there's a way to
cite
keep
it.
track of how many warnings they've.
Yes, we're
Okay.
working it all out.
Okay.
He's been good, so hopefully he's gonna have that before you pretty soon, because I think that will make a big difference.
There's been a couple.
Won't make it go away completely, but I think it'll make a big difference, and I also think it's fair. That, you get a warning, you get a fine, if you still don't get the bigger fine, and if you really don't want to get with it, some of the businesses may look at it as a cost of doing business. So on that fourth or subsequent one, then I feel it's fair to give you a criminal citation. Street painting, of course, is a great event. I thought it was wonderful this year, first year of the city doing it. I really, unbiased opinion, I thought it was really well done and well attended. I think after
It was amazing.
COVID, it was really well attended and we had almost no problems, which is amazing because there was a lot of people. And then same with the Midnight Sun Festival, and we do regular homeless initiatives. We go out and do the homeless counts. I've got a deputy who's kind of like our homeless czar. He's placed a few, and we try to work with them instead of just trying to constantly arrest them, which is kind of the older school way of dealing with it. Next one, overdoses. The numbers are coming way down, but there's still a lot. This is my 7th year back as the captain, and you see that kind of peak in the middle, and it drops off in the beginning and end of the year. A lot of the things we did when I first got here, we were having, I believe it was around 600 overdoses a year with about 100 and some fatal. It's down into the high 2s. And I can't see the fatal, so it's trending in the right direction, but those numbers are mostly 20-something-year-old people. It's still frustrating. We did see a bump particularly last year in 2020 with COVID. I think COVID didn't help that situation either with the shutdowns and such. So it's something we're aware of. A lot of the things have sunsetted. I was on the sober home task force that's sunsetted. We'll see. It's getting there. The Narcan has helped quite a bit as well to keep the fatal numbers down. Narcan's a lot more readily available than it was when I first got here in 2015.
So were you guys, I'm sorry, go ahead.
Is PDSO using Narcan or only fire rescue?
Only fire rescue.
And does that seem, everybody agrees that, I mean, I know there's some reasons why you folks don't want to mess with it. Does it seem like keeping it with fire rescue is adequate, it's working out reasonably?
I can only speak for Lakewood Beach, and here, yes, we're fortunate that, again, we're small geographically and we have 2 fire stations plus Lantana and West Palm, so they get here really quick. I can't speak for everywhere where it might be a little more spread out, but it's working.
So where you were getting 20 calls plus a day, now you're getting 20 calls on average a month?
That's overdoses for the month.
That's what I'm saying, for the overdose calls. That's
Yeah, I don't know if it was ever that high, but in our highest, I mean, 600 in a year is about 2 a day, a little less than 2 a day. We had 6 something and 100 and some fatals my first in 2015, 2016. Those are crazy.
And then when my
But
brother,
that was a national problem. It's not just the liquid by far.
it's fentanyl now, it's killing
Yeah,
everybody.
fentanyl's what's doing it. You never know where the mixture
Scariest
is.
part is that they know what they're doing.
Sometimes
I can't even
it's come back
imagine.
from the lab and it's pure fentanyl.
And that stuff is
And it puts you guys in harm's, way, just
Yeah.
like, with EMS and fire rescue.
And next, I think that's it.
All right.
Questions? Yep.
I see your light on, okay.
I still, I'm glad you mentioned the 2 prongs in quality of life, as we've talked many times. I'm glad you're focused on it because it is something that makes a big difference in people's lives. One that comes up a lot that I get people calling and say, hey, I called and dispatch said, well, it's a First Amendment right, or, I guess First Amendment. That seems to show up with people preaching out in public. And I don't know what the deal is, but it's the volume that's the issue. I don't care what you're doing, whether you're reciting Shakespeare, but if it's a volume issue, and so I hope you can keep mentioning dispatch. It's not a First Amendment issue, it's a volume. And I am very much in favor of sort of a tiered up thing, but let's get off of the warnings pretty quickly to some sort of fine, something that gets people to their attention. I think a few times fines. I'm thinking most of the calls that I get, I don't get very many related to businesses. I get them almost all in residential neighborhoods. And I think there, if you've come to the house before, time to amp it up to the next thing. The other one that I hear a lot about from the public is, does PVSO pay attention to traffic? And one that's common is the right turn right around the corner here. That people do that one. Do we do traffic speeding things periodically? I know you mentioned a number of other initiatives, but I didn't see traffic go by.
I didn't put that on this time, but yes, we do. We do them within the district, and then we also request the motor units, which are regional assets. I call them in. Unfortunately, one of their sergeants was one of my sergeants, so again, it's all about relationships. They're in here regularly. They helped us with the railroad initiative. We had a whole squad of motor units for the 2 weeks, coupled with my people. Every deputy can do traffic. Of course, some like it more than others, and then each squad has 1 or 2 that really like traffic. And when we have the manpower, which is most of the time, we'll label them a traffic unit, and then they just take they do traffic and do crashes and things like that.
Well, crashes, but the impression that I get here from people a fair amount is PVSO isn't paying attention. People speed with impunity, they do whatever, or they blow through lights or stop signs or things. That's it. That's what I hear. Now, that doesn't mean that's reality, but it's something that I hear with some regularity. So maybe a little more focus on that. I get the impression that if you do the periodic speed trap things, we used to do them on A Street, I remember. That gets people's attention a little bit.
And those flow signs that flash what, how fast you're going and what.
Those are pretty helpful.
Those are very helpful.
Yeah.
Coming off the bridge, it's real fun to come off the bridge because it's a hill. Pick up some speed. I found myself. No, I think those, again, it's consciousness raising about people that, and then you don't have to have a man to do that. You can just. Plug it
Right.
in.
I had residents that live by the golf course that are frustrated because it's a residential, quiet neighborhood, but you get a lot of traffic and you get people leaving from the restaurant and bar in there. They said that, I think you guys parked a car there, maybe like a police car around that area, and it just like
Stops
did
all.
wonders.
Visibility is a good thing with traffic.
Yeah.
Decoy car. We
Yeah.
do utilize the decoy cars quite often for that and many other.
But all of those decoy cars have officers in them that are watching all the time.
All the time.
Yeah.
All the
You can't
time.
see them, but they're there.
They pick
Okay, that's what I
shorter
thought.
police officers.
You guys did have a couple officers on motorcycles just this past week on Sixth Avenue going over the little bridge to John Prince Park.
Yeah.
And I saw them, both, one on each side had somebody pulled over, so.
Oh, yeah, that's a
Probably
speed
hottest
trap.
spot in the city in the last 27 years.
Yep.
Speeding is 6 out this west of.
Yep.
It is a trap.
Again, it's a
The bridge
hill.
On the west side, we're fortunate, our highest speed limit is 35 in the
Right.
city. We have districts where.
Do people know that though? I mean.
They took the driving test.
They do, but they don't learn Sixth Avenue. Many of my teenage years has been spent learning not to speed through that. You guys are good, and
It's a costly
Yeah.
lesson, and our guys feel compassion there too. When I started, a ticket was whatever it was, it hurt, but now it's maybe a week's pay.
Yeah.
So again, I mean, our guys, they have, and gals, they have compassion for people too. I don't, one thing to find you, but if it's a week's pay. that's a lot of-
It's hard.
Ticket prices have gone up over the years quite a bit.
They really have.
Probably won't do it again.
It's a lesson.
Ms. Davis, do you have a comment, question?
Yes, thank you. Captain Bear, thank you for the report. From time to time, I receive complaints from citizens about the presence of the officers in their neighborhood. And I just wanted to give an example of one where a citizen called me maybe 2 weeks ago in the area of F Street, North F Street, around 4th, 5th, and 6th area. They said, we rarely see the presence of the officers of the sheriff's department in their area. So on my way home, if I'm driving through, I'll drive through there, and they were complaining about a few businesses as well. So I wanted to see, observe for myself. And the 3 times that I drove through the neighborhood, I ran into a sheriff's deputy each time.
Good.
So I thought that was very interesting.
Because they have a
Sometimes
tracking
we
on
don't
them.
see, the deputies because it's random and we may not be observing at a certain time of day, but I was pleased to see the presence of the officers in that area.
I appreciate that, and I get the same complaints from time to time, and then I'll go drive around, and I don't know if they know that my truck's gone, but whenever I do the drive around, we always see deputies. I don't think people are lying. It's a tough thing, and
We can't be every place.
Every assignment I've had, and every chief hears this. I mean, you have to think about it. When we go out there with certain deputies, unless you're sitting in your front yard the whole day looking for them,
Yeah.
Right.
the odds of you just happening to be out in your front yard when we just happen to drive by, it is really slim. I think the same thing in my own neighborhood, is like, I never see it.
It was awesome.
But
Each time I came,
I'm
I
not
saw it.
looking.
Interesting.
That's awesome. Take the win.
Really?
One other one that I get complaints about periodically is, and this is not a high item, but it's an item and it affects, again, it's quality of life thing. The ice cream truck coming around saying the
Oh,
same
good Lord.
jingle forever and ever. And my understanding, I think we've talked about it here a little bit, that we're very sympathetic to people making a living. On the other hand, we're sympathetic to people who work from home and are.
Is it a constant recorded?
The
Hello,
constant thing.
hello.
Do you folks do anything with that?
We can.
Can we
Really
encourage you to?
It's really tough to like the ice cream truck. Honestly.
It's not a good look for
It's not
community
a great
policing,
look.
but
Right.
We do when we're called. I don't know if the guys and girls are progressively out wanting to.
The one who drives through my district, on the back of the truck, it says for all your party needs. So I wonder at 10 o'clock, he's going through and he's going, hello, hello. What kind of ice cream is really?
That's your
selling?
party needs here.
Yeah, but it's recorded.
We will on complaint because most of the time they're violating the ordinance.
I think they usually are, and my own feeling, I don't know how to solve the advertising aspect for the ice cream sales, but, and I'm sympathetic to, them making a living and so on, but the concern about the repeated is.
It's been a while, but typically once or twice a year, I'll have the community police deputies to do more of an educational thing where they stop all the roadside vendors. And that works for a while, but again, and we do a mix of warnings and notices to appear there if it's a repeat offender and such. That makes a difference for a while.
I have a suggestion. I don't know if we could do it. Having spent 2 summers of my life as an ice cream truck driver. You get through college, you gotta get through college, right? But my ice cream truck, I can't believe this, one of my many lives, right? It was a hand-pulled bell. I had to hand pull the bell. There was no recording. And I wonder if we could make that something that's, because
I think that'd be great.
after a while, man, and
And I know that, I mentioned similar, that there's a fellow that sells ice cream from his bicycle, and he had a bell thing, and the bell was harmless.
Right.
That was fine. It's the
I think
recording that.
find out
makes
if our city attorney could like maybe look into that, because it was, and the kids knew the bell. I mean,
Yeah,
the
It can work for
running out.
everybody.
Yeah,
Brings the ice cream customers and
Yeah.
doesn't drive everybody.
and then it's not constant. Yes, I see you're peering behind Captain Bear.
Only for ice cream or other?
Anything, any constantly recorded item, no, it's gotta be manually. It makes a difference, it'll make a big difference if what you're talking about.
Written quickly before the laws passed by the governor that affects 15% of their sales.
They'd have to
Pass it quick.
They have to prove it in their cash, so they won't want to even mention what they make, frankly, probably. I have my little coin dispenser.
I have a quick question because I'm curious about something. In March, there weren't a whole lot of overdoses, thankfully, but almost half of them were deaths. And I'm just gonna kind of play the guessing game and assume that there's probably a batch with fentanyl. And when that happens, through the community policing partnerships, is there like an effort to find that source, to educate users, to, find, to keep them safe as opposed to punish them?
On our end, there's
Yeah, they're
more
punishing
investigative follow-up. I'm not sure if on the nonprofit or the other things, which there are a lot of other groups that work on this when we were on the task force. On our end, if there is a fatal overdose, the violent crimes comes out, they investigate, and try to track the back and move on it. And we have made cases. It's really hard, but we have made cases for that. We often think the same thing. If there's a big spike suddenly that somebody put way too much fentanyl in it. A lot of the fatals, if you talk to the users, they normally use the buddy system where, you're gonna do it while I sit here with Narcan and a lot of the fatals, unfortunately, we just had one where it's a double where one buddy didn't wait, they both used it and there's no one to call us or use the Narcan. That's where we find a lot of the fatals is if they're by themselves and they can't do it themselves or it's a buddy system where the buddy didn't wait, and then you have a double, which is terrible. The saves are where there's someone there to either call or use the Narcan.
And Commissioner Diaz, my brother was a firefighter here, and he was so frustrated, and this is he retired 2 years ago, so it was kind of at the height. They would go out and do fentanyl, they'd go out and do Narcan, and 6 hours later, they'd get a call from the same guy.
Mhm.
And the next day they got the call from the same guy. So in 24 hours, 48 hours, they're the same. I mean, every time that call went out, had the expense of that. And then there were some cities, don't know how it worked out, that if you didn't, that you had to pay for the ambulance. And if you didn't pay, they didn't come out the next time. Yeah. No, there was a city that had done, I don't know.
We repeaters for the same day, and we've had
Right.
people around the county that have called ahead of time to say, to come check on the ambulance. So, we've seen it all, and fortunately, it's getting a lot better, but, again, we still have a ways to go.
And that's not popular to talk about, but I mean, I think that's why it's important to find a safe place for some users to use it. And the stats are there that when you provide that place, that they're more likely to seek help and actually come out of their addiction. Because, I see out of 12 overdoses, 5 of them are deaths, and that's, that's ratio is just way too much. I mean, anytime more than one, more than two person,
I don't think they're unaware of the danger.
yeah.
I don't think they're unaware of the danger. They know their friends have died. Education is, if you, is it in marijuana too? Is it street marijuana, or is it just like cocaine and things like that? The fentanyl,
Mainly the heroin.
heroin.
It's been
Okay.
mixed in other drugs.
Okay. So it's a risk of the business on some level.
But the good news is they're going back now. If they can track who sold it knowingly, had fentanyl and somebody died, they're now prosecuting these dealers with murder.
Oh, yeah.
We
Great.
made some cases.
Yeah.
In the county.
Okay, so
One
thank you.
question.
Quickly.
You mentioned on the homeless initiative, can you give a little more picture of what's involved with that? Because I don't know very much about it.
When we interact with the homeless, it's typically on the quality of life violations. We offer them services for our policy. If we stop you for certain things, I mean, if you do a burglary, it doesn't matter, it's a burglary. But if you're sleeping, lodging, things like that, they're typically like life-sustaining offenses. We have to offer you services first, which is like the Lewis Center. Unfortunately, there aren't a lot of services
Right.
available, but mainly the Lewis Center. If you accept services, we take you there in lieu of charging you. If you refuse services, then we can charge you with whatever crime we stop you for. But what the goal is, I mean, arresting for ordinance after ordinance, it's not gonna.
The waste of your time.
Maybe solves the problem for a day on whoever called us, but it doesn't really solve the problem. Whereas trying to find you housing, we found housing at the Lewis Center temporary. We've gotten bus tickets for them that want to go back. Say, do you have a friend or family anywhere? No, they're out of state. Would you want to go there? We have gotten a few buses there back to where their family is to help them, mainly with addiction issues. There's mental health issues. I mean, the homeless is another topic we can talk about for months. But we're trying the soft approach wherever we can. It's a hot button issue though. I get as many complaints on one end as I do. It seems like everyone has, almost like community policing, everyone has an opinion on.
Well, they've always been homeless and they always will be homeless.
Yep, just like prostitution.
We're always stuck right in the middle, trying to do.
I mean, I get a lot of complaints from downtown businesses all along Lake and Lucerne about that, they come in the morning to open their business and they've got to scoop up the. and,
Get those myself. I have seen a slight uptick recently.
I've got more complaints
Just
lately
recently.
about that. Yep, past couple of weeks.
That's one that we may want to think about. Some cities have public bathrooms. And having somebody that, is it an improvement? Well, it seems to me if I was a business owner, a public bathroom would be a whole lot better than having to clean up in front of my business. So it's something we may want to, as a commission, put some thought.
Can't imagine having staff at this point doing that, but we can certainly talk about it later. Okay, thank you very much. We really appreciate your time. We've gone way long on this one. It's great.
Well, and we are gonna probably be having conversations about the day docs, and
Yeah,
we don't need to have it right now.
Right.
But as we.
it's been ongoing. It's been ongoing.
Another can of worms.
Mhm. Thank you.
Sounds easy, but it's.
Yeah, jurisdiction is sort of an interesting concept on that one. All right, thank you so much.
Thank you both.
Thank you both for being here, for taking care of us.
Thank you.
Bring your horses down more often. We love your horses.
Everybody loves the whole.
Everybody loves the horses. Good, thank you very much. Okay, wait, we're not, now this is where we have to sort of speed it up. I'm looking at you, and I'm looking at you. Okay. Next, we have a proclamation declaring April 22nd as Earth Day, which I will read, the short one. Proclamation, whereas a new worldview is emerging through telecommunications, trade, and travel, our planet is rapidly becoming a single community. And whereas the creation of a healthy environment requires the establishment of a stable human society where the economic and material desires of humankind are balanced with ecological concerns. And whereas Earth Day each year can provide a special time to draw people together in appreciation of their mutual home, planet Earth, and bring a global feeling of community through realization of our deepening desire for life, freedom, and love, and our mutual dependence on each other. And whereas our beautiful blue planet is a home for all people, and whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach takes pride in its diverse population, and whereas through voluntary action, individuals can join with one another in building the earth in harmony with nature and promote support thereof by private and government agencies. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach, as a waterfront community, has a special interest in cleanup efforts for Lake Osborne, the Lake Worth Lagoon, and the C-51 Canal. Whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach has made neighborhood beautification a priority, including the planting of trees and enhancement of green space. And whereas the city of Lake Worth Beach takes pride in its natural resources and conservation efforts. And whereas Earth Day each year can foster a common recognition that we are one people, one planet. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, by virtue of the authority vested in me and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby proclaim April 22nd, 2022 as Earth Day, where I have set my hand and caused the seal of the city to be affixed this 19th day of April 2022. The next one, and I'm looking at you, Commissioner.
All right.
Commissioner Bourgoy is going to read quite a lengthy proclamation, and he and I have a private side deal about.
I feel like he already broke the agreement.
So do I.
He did, he did,
But it's okay.
he did, but all right, now he's reading it, so it starts now.
Is this international dark?
Starts.
Proclamation, which is about the International Night Sky. Whereas the beauty and wonder of a natural night sky is a shared heritage of all humankind, whereas the experience of seeing a starry night sky inspires feeling of wonder and encourages interest in the arts, science, technology, arts and math, STEAM, including among young people living in the city of Lake Worth. Whereas the opportunity to view star-filled skies over a bunch of different parks around Everglades National Park, Big Cypress and Norandis, and other areas of the greater Florida Everglades with limited light pollution attracts tourists to this area and therefore economic benefit to the city of Lake Worth Beach. And whereas artificial lighting is defined as light produced by humans for any purpose, and excessive artificial lighting at night, including light directed towards the sky and light causing glare or trespass, contributes to light pollution of the nighttime environment. And whereas light pollution is artificial light that causes adverse impacts to the environment, including excessive light that wastes resources, energy, money, and harms turtles. Whereas many people in the city of Lake Worth Beach live under a dome of light pollution and are not fully able to enjoy the cultural, ecological, and health benefits of a naturally lit nocturnal environment and night sky in their own communities. And whereas light pollution has scientifically established economic and environmental consequences, which result in significant impacts to the ecology and human health of all communities, including in Lake Worth. And whereas light pollution impacts many wildlife species in our region, including sea turtles nesting along our coastline, birds migrating through the Atlantic Flyway, fireflies in the Everglades, and bats foraging in South Florida, like the endangered Florida bonneted bat. And whereas protecting the night sky and quality of the nocturnal environment provides many benefits to Lake Worth communities, including livability, safety, quality of life, and access to nature. We're in the home front. So whereas solving the problem of light pollution requires educating governments, that would be us, communities, businesses, and citizens, and encouraging neighbor and ecologically friendly lighting best practices that are effective in preventing and reducing light pollution in all its forms. And whereas the International Night Sky Association has designated April 22nd through April 30th as International Dark Sky Week 2022 to help draw awareness to light pollution, its far-reaching impacts and solutions. Now, therefore, I, Betty Resch, Mayor of the City of Lake Worth, by the virtue of the authority vested in her and on behalf of the City Commission, do hereby claim April 22nd through 30th, 2022 as Dark Sky Week 2022 in Lake Worth Beach, and encourage residents, businesses, visitors, employees, and neighbors to celebrate the night sky and the natural nocturnal environment within the greater Everglades, and to learn about responsible lighting practices that prevent or reduce light pollution and protect or restore the natural qualities of the night for the good of people, wildlife, ecosystems, and climate. In witness whereof, I have hereunto set my hand and caused the seal of the City of Lake Worth Beach to be fixed this 19th day of April 2022.
Who did that? I wonder.
It is an important thing. We do actually have some ordinances to protect. The main thing is prevent the light from going unusefully up into the air.
Thank you. Now you remember our agreement?
That's
2 meetings.
2 meetings.
You've had a half of one. You got a gift of a half of one today.
All right.
I love this commission. I really do. Now we have commission liaison reports and comments. Let's start with District 4.
All right, so yeah, I've been, still ironing out that schedule. So for people who are listening, coffee with the commissioner, that is kind of in the infancy of planning to continue. I'm going to do something a little bit different, but we're working on the details, so that is coming. I've been meeting with staff, meeting with neighbors, meeting with local businesses on a variety of issues, and it's been great so far. And today, really, speaking of the International Dark Sky thing and Earth Day, today really was kind of an interesting day for me because I spent the morning in the Everglades of planning on something on my nonprofit life. And so I was out in the field today, this morning, and then in the afternoon, I met with staff to tour the L&M project and those properties. And, today was the first day that I was in the Everglades as a commissioner. And it kind of like provided a unique perspective on what's on the line here, and especially in terms of redevelopment and where we're at, because where I was at in the Everglades was in the refuge, Arthur R. Marshall National Wildlife Refuge, which is of course right next to the Ag Reserve, which is, severely threatened by development and stuff. And it really highlights the opportunity we can provide to our community and to the state of Florida in terms of redevelopment potential with projects like L&M. So that we don't have to sprawl and we can, offer things in communities like ours and the potential. Other things, there's a lot of events going on. Earth Day is always exciting for me as a professional environmentalist. Of course, Earth Day is every day, we like to say. But there are a lot of really good events this weekend. And one thing I kind of want to propose, and one thing I've noticed is there isn't one like master schedule, and maybe that's something next year the city can provide, because there are a lot of groups doing some really good events. For example, this Friday at 7:30 in Mountain Space, there is going to be, let me make sure I don't butcher his name, Dr. Mario Mota, I hope I'm saying that right. He's giving a presentation at Mountain Space. Speaking of International Dark Sky Weekend, one of the big things about dark skies is there is a public health impact with that. And he's going to have a presentation to kind of give that perspective from the United Nations on that. Sunday, Lake Worth Waterkeeper, we have our Shoreline Maintenance Day on Bryant Park. So for years, we've adopted the living shoreline at Bryant Park, and we maintain it on behalf of the county with our volunteers. So Sunday morning at 10:30, you can start with the cleanup. And then there's the neighborhood great cleanup day in Bryant Park as well. And then in the afternoon, Mel and Vinny, starting at 4, are going to have music and an event. So you can spend your whole day in Bryant Park cleaning up the shoreline, cleaning up the park itself, and then enjoying a whole nice, evening of music in a nice clean park with a clean shoreline. That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner Stokes.
I'm going to stick with the Earth Day theme, and I'm proud to say that we, the mayor and I, today submitted our mayor's Monarch pledge to the National Wildlife Federation. So in that, we recognize that our city has an active community interested in environmentalism. We're proud to support monarch butterflies and look forward to engaging our residents through activities that will raise awareness about how to create a healthy and sustainable habitat for the monarchs. Lake Worth Beach is committed to leading by example, and we'll be planting butterfly gardens on city-owned properties. So that was a commitment that we made. There was a whole slew of items that they asked us to choose from. We're going to staff, we identified 3. So we're going to be, what did we do? We're going to have a community art project. We're going to plant or maintain monarch and pollinator-friendly plants on city property, and we're going to host or support a monarch neighborhood challenge to engage neighborhoods and homeowner associations within a community to increase awareness and create habitat for the monarch butterfly. So we're really excited to be doing these. I heard from Lauren Bennett today that planters have already been cleared for the go-ahead in South Palm Park for butterfly plants, and they're working on Spillway Park next.
Great.
So that's really exciting. One thing that we did not sign on to this year but there's always next year. The year after that is, just speaking of all this light pollution, as I was going through this today, there are systems change things that we can do as policymakers, and one of them is talking about adopt ordinances that support reducing light pollution, because that's also affects our monarch population. So we've more to come on that. I was also going to mention the Dark Sky Week at Mountain Space, but I don't have to anymore.
And tell them what Mountain Space is. People might not be.
Mountain
familiar with
Space is
that.
the art gallery right across from the Cultural Plaza. So
On the
it's
corner.
a wonderful place. When they first opened, they really want to be a place for the community to come and do to host events like this. So they really offer up their space. They don't ask for really anything in return. So this is another example of our amazing citizenry here that will initiate things like this. So it's these, we have lots of things that are happening that are not planned by the city, but just our enthusiastic residents. The last thing I do want to mention also on Friday night that I'm very excited about, I know nobody can see, but there is a movie night at Sunset Ridge Park. Friday starts at 8 p.m. They'll be showing a movie in Encanto. So I hope to see, I'll be passing these flyers out at North Grade and the aftercare program and try to get more kiddos out there. I'm excited to see family activities so close to home.
Mhm.
That's it.
Thank you. Commissioner McBoyd.
Yeah, my focus is on Earth Day as well. And I guess I feel a little bit of a personal connection as an environmental scientist, but also Earth Day was started by Senator Gaylord Nelson, who was where I grew up in Wisconsin, started it. And he started that he started thinking about it apparently in 1963. It didn't get going till 1970. In 1970, atmospheric, many of you know that I pay a lot of attention to our electric utility, and some people may think that's a little wacky, but in 1970, atmospheric carbon was 320 parts per million. Today, it's 420 parts per million. That's in less than my lifetime, an enormous increase in that. And so I want to read a little bit of, I've shortened it way down, Gaylord Nelson's speech and a couple of comments from the UN Secretary General, because I think it's pretty relevant to bring us back to why we do some of the things that we do and why we pay attention to our utility, especially because that's one of our biggest inputs. So, Gaylord Nelson, Earth Day is a dramatic evidence of a broad new national concern. It may be symbolic, this is 1970, may be symbolic of a new communication between young and old about our values and priorities. Think about, how this 52 years later. Our goal is not just an environment of clean air and water and scenic beauty. The objective is an environment of decency, equality, and mutual respect for all other human beings and all other living creatures. Our goal is an American ethic that sets new standards for progress, emphasizing human dignity and well-being. Are we able to meet the challenge? Yes, we have the technology and the resources. Are we willing? That is the unanswered question. Now we fast forward 52 years to the UN Secretary General, Antonio Guterres, who studied physics and electrical engineering, is the head diplomat of the UN. Today's Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change, many of you who pay attention to the IPCC report, is an atlas. His words are pretty striking. This is February of this year, is an atlas of human suffering and a damning indictment of failed climatic leadership. With fact upon fact, this report reveals how people and the planet are getting clobbered by climate change. The facts are undeniable. This abdication of leadership is criminal. This is the UN Secretary General talking. The world's biggest polluters are guilty of arson on our only home. We're burning ourselves up. Bill McGibbon, who's advocated on these things for very many years, many of you know him from 350.org and some other organizations that he started with youth, with people of our generation. We figured out how to make solar power, wind power, and the batteries to store them, the cheapest power on Earth. If we deployed it at scale very fast, relevant to our utility, we could undercut the power of Vladimir Putin, the power of a lot of the worst people on planet Earth. It's very relevant. The wars that's happening in Ukraine is tied to gas and oil and coal coming out of Russia. We can do this, but we need to concentrate. We need to make it a focus of our work in this country and around the world. My comment is, I say here in Lake Worth, we too can do this. Let us concentrate.
I'm going to date myself here. I was at the original Earth Day celebration in Central Park in New York City. It was like the beginning of, I mean, not enough has happened, but it was pretty amazing to be there. Commissioner,
Whoever my
oh my
name
God.
is, down there. Well, it's hard,
It's almost 8
it's hard to
o'clock.
follow after the proclamation.
I'm telling you.
Earth Day education, so I'll keep it brief. Royal Point Santa had their annual Easter egg hunt, which is always free to the community. And they partner with Our Savior Lutheran Church. There are about 45 to 50 kids this year. It was a great turnout. We do it through donations that are given to the neighborhood association to buy candy and give away Easter baskets. They also had a petting zoo that the church paid for, that they came out and did an education and free pony rides and stuff. So that was fun. Taco Fiesta was a huge success.
Very.
And I was very excited to be one of the taco eating judges. So
Oh.
I had to watch the people and see who was ready to go. And so that was fun. Kudos to our staff. And our staff is always open to hearing from people like Jose, who's like, what about a taco fiesta?
Yeah.
So I hear that a lot of the vendors sold out of food very quickly.
That's great.
There was a much bigger attendance than what we anticipated. So I'm looking forward to that next year. As I previously mentioned, I met with Lourdes, who is our victim advocate with PBSO. My concern with working really closely over the years with the DOJ grant is the funds that pay for Lourdes to be here primarily for our district are set to expire at the end of September. So her and I had a hard conversation on how beneficial it's been for having her here, who she talks to, the timing of when she goes to talk to the victims. And it was very knowledgeable. Like I said, I gave Sylvina the information to pass along to everybody else to contact her if you want to have a meeting. College Park is having their block party this weekend from 4 to 9 on Saturday. I don't know what streets it's on, but I know it's from 4 to 9. And I do know that they're accepting donations for the for toiletries for kids.
Right.
So toothbrush, toothpaste, toilet, any toiletries, tampons, women's needs. And I too did the L&M walkthrough this morning. Thank God I had a mask with me. I'll leave it at that.
Yeah.
It was quite, being from Detroit and being somebody who grew up in a carpenter's world, I had nothing but admiration for the first two buildings and was like, oh my God, if I could just pick these up and move them. The character, the real wood and the things you just don't see. We walked into the fourplex and I'm like, can I get that mailbox? Because it was a brass mailbox. But it was really, I think it was good for me to walk through and not touch anything, but to actually see the condition and what are our decisions that lie before us. So it was educational. I thank staff for putting that together.
I'm going there Thursday.
Wear a mask.
I went.
I will. Ronaldo this morning. The College Park party is on Pennsylvania, between Cornell and Dartmouth.
There. Write that down.
Okay, great. Thank you. I have just a couple things. As far as we're gonna take a little deep breath with the budget. Last year, the four of us were Ronaldo is now. Woo. And so this year we need to pay a little more attention to the budget because I realized over the year I'd say, well, what about doing this? Well, it's not in the budget, so we've pay more attention. And I'm very, very opposed to having us apply for any piece of dollar that we can get from anywhere. We talked about the one where FERDAP, I think it was, the launches for that kind of stuff. There's a lot of exciting stuff out there and we just have to get on it. Okay. I want to, like we said earlier, we got to bring the kids into the city. We got to get the kids engaged in the city. And we need to figure out how to do that, not just in City Hall, but just reaching out to them as well. Because, you never know what word is said to you in your life, what one phrase was said to you that triggered something good. So let's be those people that help them learn how to those phrases and those words. I have had the honor and the interesting experience for the past couple of weeks of attending a number of Ramadan break fast dinners, which is amazing because these people fast for 30 days from sunrise to sunset, no water. This is a fast. So I've been to 3 now. I'm going to go to at least 1 or 2 more. And we have a large Bangladesh community, not just in Lake Worth Beach, but in this area. I mean, one of the dinners I was at was like 600 people at a mosque. It was amazing. It was beautiful. So that kind of goes along with what I've wanted to do. And I've, again, budget. I want to have, with Bryant Park probably, an international festival where the Bangladesh come with their food and their music and their stuff, and the Irish come, and the different parts of the Guatemalans come. It's just that we are so diverse, and if we can just have a party, and I know the staff is like, oh, great. But
Just a party.
let's have another party. I'm serious about that though, because one of the things that I'm learning as I've been reaching out is just how diverse we are and how we really need to all get together. Like we talked about earlier, relationships. It's all about relationships. And we've got to get to know each other and who we are and what we stand for, and the fact that we all are really just people trying to make our way through the world. So that's something budget-wise. Also budget-wise, Municipal League, I want to bring that back. Not Municipal League, the Municipal Institute. I want to bring that back. We have a shortage of people on volunteer boards. We have to scrape for people for volunteer boards. One of the things that I think this commission is committed to is to bringing in more people into the city. So I want to have, the Municipal Institute was a number of years ago. They did it for a couple of years. It was about a 6 or 8 week course, 20, 25 people. One night a week, we would go to the water department or the fire department or the building, planning and zoning department, the garbage department. And we would all, they would show us how this thing works. And then we'd have pizza or sandwiches or something. And it was a really good bonding experience. And it was really good to learn because why doesn't the city do this? How come the city should do this? Well, and I do that, we all do that, but when you learn that there's usually a good reason for it, it's very helpful to understand. And I really think we're a small town, we got to bring people in. So,
And by bring people in, you mean bring people from the community into city government?
Into the city government and all, yeah, and the kids into us and then just all that. Along those same lines, the Community Emergency Response Team was a program that was done a number of years ago, it was the same kind of theme, but it was focused on emergency response to hurricanes. It was a very intense program. We had to learn how to do stuff. We went to the fire department and we got like backpacks and hard hats because we learned how to, because we had just had a bunch of hurricanes and Katrina had just happened. So we learned how to, go in a building and see if there's any dead bodies and mark the building and stuff. Yeah, it was very intense. And it was great because you feel like you could help. You feel like you had some tools to help if something really bad happened. So that's something else I'd like to do that as well. We need to work on the website. I want to see the website more user-friendly, more information, neighborhood stuff. Just that's, we all have discovered that it's really hard to get the word out, for an event. I mean, I was there a couple of weeks ago at the library. I narrated this wonderful little program for children, and there weren't that many children there. And it was an amazing program. It was free. How do you get the word out to people that these things are happening? So I want our website to be the place where you go to find out what's going on. I think that's it. Oh, one more thing. This Sunday at 4:30 at the Cultural Plaza, free Fushu Daiko, who is the area's premier. I didn't even know about it. I saw it in the paper. I called them up like, you're gonna be in Lakewood? Fushu Daiko is a taiko Japanese drum. They are the ones that perform at the Murakami Museum. They're amazing. Yeah. They're amazing people. Their spirit is wonderful. And it's going to be 4:30 at the Cultural Plaza on Sunday. Be there or be square. Yeah. Thank you very much. That's all I have.
If I could add one more thing, I forgot to mention it, and
Sure.
Maybe somebody else, maybe the city manager planned on doing it, but I'll just talk about the L&M projects. We are having our charrette
Oh, yeah.
Saturday, April 30th. So this is our last meeting before that charrette. So
Okay.
it's a public workshop. It's from 10, I pulled up the thing.
Yeah, I
from,
saw that.
10 a.m. till 2:30. Citizen presentations are from 1 to 2:30. So
Where?
I'm hoping-
Where's it going to be?
Good question. It's at Hatch, 1121 Lucerne Avenue. So, yes, we definitely, how do we get the word out? How do we get
Right.
more participation? The whole purpose of that is public participation.
Because this is
So-
going to be coming up and a decision is going to, it's going to be a rough road, I hope, but we have a hard decision to make and we all need to get as much input as we can.
Great. So please, for anyone who's listening at home, share that information. I'm sure we're going to push it out on our link or social media. We can share it to other groups. And I want to be able to share it beyond our normal circles. So
Right.
it's challenging because we need to share it. So we'll be reaching out and hopefully You'll have a plan with that too.
Madam Mayor, one more thing. Jamil in HR is sent an email that she is accepting, they are accepting applications this year for our youth to come in and be interns again.
Oh.
So for all the youth that are listening to, yeah, I gave them Jamil's card.
Okay.
But it was something that we relaunched again last year that was successful. And if we could get 25, 20 kids, I think it'd be awesome.
They used to have a thing where there was like Shadow Commissioner Day and they went, I mean, it was, this is like when I first
They're gonna end up in
moved.
Everglades.
What?
They're gonna end up in Everglades.
They're gonna end up in Everglades. That's,
I thought it was like, wait, what are we doing to them?
come home again, bring them back. To get our kids, because really, we have, and again, we have a pool of people that we have to continually franchise and get involved and feel like they're a part of this community, because that's what it's all about.
Prune them.
Thank you very much. Anything else before we go on?
Nope.
All right, city manager, do you have a report?
I do. Sorry, I want to pull up a few dates on here. Yes, a few updates. I wanted to share that I've been busy this meeting. Of course, I constantly have requests to meet with citizens on issues. I'm doing that even more. Last week attended 2 meetings, one with the Palm Beach County Vice Mayor Weiss. The mayor and I met with him and his staff, chief of staff, and he came to visit us to offer us resources and find out what our needs are, our concerns are. So I'm excited about that. And so I have a few connections with the staff to meet with them on further issues. One, bringing up our wonderful issue of the pool to talk about the county and what they can contribute to that issue. So we're going to talk about that and other needs that we have in the city. So I'm looking forward to that, building that relationship with the vice mayor and his staff. Also attended the Palm Beach County League of Cities, District 2 and 3 meeting. The mayor and I did that as well. And that was a good meeting and discussion, just roundtable discussions with other mayors and city managers in those 2 districts. And one of the things that came out that would be helpful that I want to share with you all to see if you're interested in the state internal auditor coming and conducting a training for the commission, sharing about what some different ideas and issues within his department and things that we need to be aware of. So I think that's a good thing to do. So I will reach out to them if you're interested and plan that as a work session one day, if you like. It was mentioned about the budget. We'll be digging into the budget, the staff with the finance team. So we're about to go head in, digging into it. So my schedule will be very tight as we are going to be in locked doors working on the budget. So I wanted to let you know about that so that we can prepare that fiscal year 2023 budget for your review and consideration. And you will also be receiving a revised budget schedule. We have adjusted some dates as we are a little behind, but we're trying to make sure we start off strong among the team before we bring to you the budget for our first discussion. So you'll see some adjustments in the dates and you'll be getting that very shortly. We talked about Earth Day. And so I was trying to pull up something that's real exciting, what we're doing for Earth Day. And I think I lost it, but, oh, here it is. We're going to have a second annual Employee Earth Day cleanup. So I'm going to read from the Solid Waste and Recycling Division. They are encouraging the employees to join them to help clean up our community. And it says the weather is beautiful, so it would be a perfect opportunity to step out of the office for a few minutes, get some exercise, and pick up litter around our offices. Can't do a cleanup? No problem. You can still participate by showing us a picture of yourself doing something good for the earth, like recycling, water, electric conservation, or waste reduction. So all employees received that email. So I just want to let you know that we're participating in Earth Day.
Awesome.
So that concludes my updates.
Well, thank you very much. Now it's time for public participation. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
I do not have any, Madam Mayor.
Is there anyone, are there any blue cards? Any public comments? I think we need to write this one down.
Everyone's quiet.
All right, approve them. Do I have a motion to approve the minutes of the March 23rd, March 28th, and April 5th meetings?
Motion to approve.
Second from
Second.
Commissioner Maliga, all in favor?
Aye.
Next is the approval of the consent agenda. Do I have a motion?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Okay, now we're going to the second reading of public hearings, the second reading of the ordinance regarding the notice to tenants. Mr. Attorney, would you read the title, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor.
Well, first, have there been any substantial changes?
No.
Not that okay, great. I have to ask.
Ordinance number 07-22, 2022, sorry about that. An ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Lake Worth Beach, Florida, amending chapter 20, so provides for creating article 3, landlord tenant notice requirements, section 20-20, notice of termination of monthly residential tenancy without specific duration, and section 20-21, written notification requirements related to rental payment increases. All residential tenancies require 60 days notice, written notice of termination of tenancies and increase in rental rates, severability, conflicts, application, and an effective date.
Thank you. Madam Clerk, are there any public comments?
Let's see. Yes, I have one public comment.
Okay.
It's from Zaid Shamsi Basha, 503 North K Street. I'm a resident of Lake Worth Beach and a housing attorney, and I'd like to voice my support for ordinance 07-2022. This is an important piece of legislation for both landlords and tenants. It will cool the rapidly heating rental market that is being made worse by short deadlines set by state statute. While the time limits in the state statute may be workable during normal times, there is a declared state of emergency regarding the rental market. Under the current law, a long-term month-to-month tenant who has never missed a payment can have their tenancy terminated with no more than 15 days notice. We as a community must do more to protect our neighbors. That is the only comment I have, Madam Mayor.
Are there any blue cards, any public comment cards? No? Okay. Do I have a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Wait,
Up. There's a light.
there's a light. I was waiting for the motion in the second before I had discussion. I brought this up to the city attorney today. My concern on this ordinance is if you are a month-to-month renter, my rent can be increased effective today, 60 days from now, 5% higher. And then the following month, 5% higher, and the following month, 5%. There's no cap on the month-to-month
We can't cap.
renters. I understand. So I've talked to Glenn and said, is there any way we can look at other language? Because it's not, it doesn't seem that we're helping anyone who's a month-to-month renter if their rent can be increased 5% every single month, as long as they get a notice.
Okay,
So 5% compounded times 5% times for
right.
10 months, put somebody out of a house.
What do you suggest?
Oh, well, I talked to Glenn and he's suggested that we approve this as is and then come back maybe in the next 30 days with some either new language or an additional one. And we need to talk about commercial landlords as well.
Yeah.
I mean, this is a big problem.
So-
I'm looking to you,
So
Mr.
from a language standpoint, that's a struggle. And Chris and I have talked about this a couple of times.
Yeah.
Recently is 5 o'clock. So we'll try, if you'd like us to try to figure it out, because the worry is the rent control
We
prohibition.
can't do that.
So that's the difficult part.
Do you have any suggestions?
I'm not an attorney. I just know that if I'm somebody who lives in a month-to-month apartment and there's a greedy landlord out there who says, okay, I have a workaround. Doesn't say how many times in a year I can raise the rent or how many times you can do it to one tenant. There's no protection is what I'm saying for the class of people we're really trying to protect.
We'll talk to legal aid because they're the
All
leader.
right.
So I'll talk to Takesha over there. And again, I don't want to upset their train. They've got a good momentum going with this being adopted by many cities.
Mhm.
Last night I was at Belglade and I mentioned it to them and they're interested in it. We'll be doing the same ordinance there. So, this is a movement basically. And
everybody's waiting for the shoe to drop, meaning Tallahassee.
Mhm.
Because as it gets more and more attention and it's reported more and more, we
Especially with Miami-Dade just passing what they did.
days, so, but we can look into that. I don't want to make any promises because we struggle with that rent control issue.
Yeah.
So I can look into it and report back next month.
Do we have consensus to talk about the commercial aspect before?
I think that, I think
Before
we
the
just do another.
15%.
I think that if
law goes into
we talk
effect.
about- I think we just didn't do it on this one. Let's,
We can, you asked us to look at that. Yes, we believe you can do that. So
we could just do another ordinance.
Could we, do we have consensus to bring it back in the next month before?
Well, it's up
As soon
to,
as it's ready, yes.
Yeah, because I don't want the
I-
governor to sign off on this other rule and then hands are tied.
I know people personally who are really excited that the second read is happening tonight because somebody bought out their apartment building and they really could use the extra time before that rental increase happens. So I'm very interested in getting this finalized tonight and then any improvements that we can make or additional things that we can do. And also including commercial space. Absolutely. I am curious about that 15% because this isn't, unfortunately, this doesn't prevent anybody. Somebody could say, I'm gonna raise your rent 50%. I'm just gonna give you, 60
Yeah,
days
right.
notice.
We have
So
no-
they can just do
right.
that month
Yeah.
one, as long as they give you the notice. I have a hard time in my head, like really understanding how that could hurt their bottom line by 15% or more. If they can still raise the rent 50% if they want to, they just have to wait to do it. So as far as this being the thing that gets challenged by this new,
well, it's passed now, so.
right, so we pass it now, we're okay, but I still, when I hear that being floated around in my head, I'm still like, you're still gonna get paid. You just have to wait a month and a half, and if your whole business model's like, built around not being able to wait an additional 6 weeks, I don't know, just.
I wonder if you had somebody who had 14 apartments and they wanted to do 50% increase in all apartments and everybody said no. And then they had to refill all of those apartments in 60 days, would that break that 15% barrier? So I mean, it's all unknown.
Yeah.
I don't know why we're worrying about it because my understanding is if the stuff is in place before that,
Then we're good.
we're good. It's
Yes, yeah.
I don't wanna, I really hope that, I guess our attorneys and our staff's gonna be busy, but, I just.
That's what they live for.
I don't want that new bill to
Okay,
scare us from
when's the
doing
first
anything
time you
good,
can
but-
get the commercial?
Next meeting.
Okay, we'll start with that.
Thank you.
Rent control, I'm very, yeah,
I'm
you'll,
very worried about that.
yeah, that's, we just, yeah.
but I would like to throw out there on the rent control side that my understanding is that I think it's Miami-Dade County did declare an emergency.
Yeah, just
So
2 days
they've
ago.
taken one of the steps of dealing with the state requirements.
And they're gonna have a referendum, and it's gonna cost a huge amount
But
of
we
money.
do referendums on all sorts of weird
So the
things.
next I just ran out to the clerk this morning because I was talking about something I thought we might want to do as a vote, a referendum, $40,000.
But $40,000 compared to all the people who are losing their places or, collectively way more than $40,000
Well, all right,
impact.
we can talk about it.
So I hope that we will keep that on the burner as far as, is that part of our options?
Am I the only person that has gotten a lot of pushback from people on this
No.
item?
I haven't at all.
I have
I haven't
gotten
gotten-
quite a bit.
I've gotten zero.
Oh, yeah, no, there's a community out there that is very unhappy with this.
I have one person I talked to and I said, this isn't rent control, it's just notice. And they're like, can you please go on Facebook and say that? I'm like, no, I
I've
don't
said
get
it.
into Facebook.
I do
movements."
Facebook and I've said it a million times and it is, what are we doing to protect the landlords? Well, I mean, it's just, it's,
'Cause
I've
they
got,
don't
let's not
understand.
dwell on it, but I
They
just
don't
want to say I've
understand what
gotten a
we're
lot
doing.
of, pushback. Do you want to say something quickly? Sure.
Yeah, I mean, I was just gonna point out again, like Commissioner McVoy, referendum. It doesn't scare me or anything, and I think, it's a nominal cost to protect a
But we
lot
have to
of.
do a study. We have to do
Yeah.
a study in order to prepare.
But it would protect a lot of people. This is a priority issue for a lot of people in our community, and it's something, they need protection from this issue. And it is temporary. Rent control, it is scary, it is controversial, but a state of emergency, I think it's really important for landlords alike to understand that this is a temporary reprieve to protect a considerable amount of our community.
We can talk about it, sure. I mean, it's a huge undertaking.
I'm understanding the kind of the direction, assuming you approve this. Next month, we'll be back with the commercial. And if you do want to have a conversation about the emergency, let us know. One thing, we have talked about that a little bit internally, is you probably need a study to get some facts. That might be hire a consultant, because I'm not sure staff is stretched like a rubber band right now. I don't know that they could take on.
And how do they prepare that study?
And then obviously the new legislation that we're all worried about, that preemption bill with the 15. So there's a lot of moving pieces, but if you want to start down that path, begin that path, and you're probably looking at the March referendum. March of next year. November is, that's slim possibility. We talked about it. It's going to be tight time frame. Plus the supervisor election, as previously indicated, no local issues on that one. So you do have a little bit of time. Maybe we all get lucky and the housing crisis gets better, but that's just Glenn, the ultimate optimist. I'm always an
I like it. I like it. Yeah.
Like, do you have one of those magic 8 balls?
Yeah, right.
Yes.
Right, right.
Is this craziness?
Okay, so do we have a motion?
We do, we have both.
Do I have a vote? All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Okay, quickly now, we're
Madam Mayor?
we tried. Yep.
We had an additional item, consent for the water conservation month. Did you do that or did I miss that?
I don't think we did.
That was part of the. we
Part
did
consent.
Approve the consent.
We don't have to read them.
You voted. Oh, you didn't vote on everything?
Yeah.
Okay, sorry about that. I
It's
just,
okay.
thank you.
Okay, so now quickly, we have item B, resolution 24-2022, authorizing the issuance of series 2022 consolidated utility bonds. Is there a presentation from staff?
Sorry,
Oh,
Madam Mayor, aren't we on new business A?
yes.
I think we are.
That's
we are.
resolution
We are,
01.
but I skipped ahead.
Trying to speed this.
We can do every other item tonight.
I wasn't gonna let you do that.
Well, we're gonna keep going, just sit up here and we're gonna do B first. Sorry, Madam Clerk. Hey, you go ahead.
With
Item
me
A.
or-
You're gonna go, right?
Okay. Yeah, I'm gonna be up here for a while.
Oh, okay. Okay.
So you called out item B, so we're gonna start with A or B.
We're gonna go with A.
Are you here, the travel policy as well?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh, all right, well, let's start with A.
For the record, under mechanical control. The first item, the travel policy, is not a presentation, but this is, in fact, the first time we presented it, there were some questions about it. We needed to clean up the language, specifically how much the city will cover, depending on the distance of travel, what travel will be permissible based on the distance, as well as more specific on the value of the reimbursements when someone does travel. So that language is being cleaned up, and the latest revision is in front of you.
And you added tips.
You saw that too, right? Not to exceed 20%, be mindful.
Fine. Okay, does anybody have any, there was something about the car,
I have
yeah, please, Mr. Stokes.
I have a similar concern as our last meeting about section 3. They're talking about the cemeteries. This language keeps sneaking in somehow.
What's that?
The city commission authorizes a city manager to amend the travel procedural guide as necessary without further action by the city commission.
Oh,
So that caught my attention once again. The section 3 on the
Resolution.
right after the travel classes, agency. Yeah. Right. So it's a financial policy. It's a policy that we have to adopt, that we, are approving. So I think if there's going to be any changes to it, it should have to come back to the commission. There's a lot of money stuff in here. So, it makes me uneasy sometimes. I don't know why we would, the circumstance for allowing the city manager. They might see something minor and just be like, oh, this is, just, Bruce.
Yes.
Is there a reason for this in here that I'm not seeing?
The primary reason is
really to address non-substantive issues relative to the writing of it. Also allows the city manager, if you see some other language, to make some interpretations, and then from those interpretations, implement, so there's a consistency. This rewrite, if you will, we came back to you because there was a previous policy that we, because of the review by the county, because we were not compliant, we thought best to bring back the entire policy to you. So again, it's really to provide, some flexibility. It's not to do rewrite, it's not to make changes. It's to provide,
Yeah, I see there are areas in here where there's going to be a judgment call made by the city manager, which I completely agree with. I just get worried about who determines what a substantial change is versus insubstantial, when to bring it back, when not to bring it back.
it has a conversation with the city manager and finance director, and that there's, again, consistency issues, clarification issues that need to be documented.
Okay, I think I would just feel comfortable if they have some things that they have to clean up, they revise it, they bring it back, it gets a vote, up, down vote, and they get revised.
I don't have no problem with that.
Yeah.
I'm a little hung up on the fact that if we get a monthly car allowance, that we have to have four, that we can't use a city car, but I thought that was an option that we would have, and I don't see that here. It's 400 miles. If we go to Tallahassee, that's a lot of miles, and it just seemed like the city car was, maybe this is the way it's always been, but it was my understanding that we were, allowed a city car if we wanted, if we had.
If you're going to go to, there's a threshold, mileage threshold.
400 miles.
And that's the Tallahassee.
Right. So that means we have to, I was told at some point when I was going to go to Tallahassee that I could take a city car if I wanted.
So was I.
And that's not what is said here. And I think we should have that option.
Madam Mayor, if I can add, the policy is saying that if you have a car allowance, that you would not be issued a city vehicle to utilize because of the fact that if you are given a car allowance, that is in essence saying that you would use that allowance toward a trip for city business.
Right, I realize that, but
Who all has car allowance?
we all know.
We all do.
And the
That's
director.
the $500 a month.
Department heads, assistant.
They call, that's
Department heads.
$500 a month.
We as commissioners.
You get $500 a month.
But this is your policy, so.
Good for you, save the money. I don't either. I put 4,000 miles on my car last year. Well, okay, I mean, that was just something that sort of surprised me because we had been told that we could take a city car if we wanted.
I'm not aware of that.
Apparently not.
And as far as the section 3, of course, I'm in agreement with Commissioner Stokes about that. If there is a change in the policy in the procedure guide, of course, this is a policy that is adopted by the commission. Certainly that is a normal process that the commission will also then amend it if it's necessary. And as Director Bruce said, is that there are some discrepancies, some discretion that the city manager has in issues that are in gray areas that I will make judgment calls. And so that is clear in the policy. So sometimes that is necessary because there are areas that may not be covered in it that we don't anticipate. But certainly if there's a substantive change that needs to be made to clear up issues that we may see in the future of the policy, I do agree that the commission should review it and see it.
That's funny with this. I'm glad that you agree with that because I think it's a good idea. So, I mean, if I don't want to take my personal car to Tallahassee, then I can fly up there and rent a car.
No, you can, yeah, I just Googled, I just searched,
Which is-
Tallahassee is 410, 423 miles, so it would be more than 400. So you could take the city vehicle. Or am I wrong?
In the conversation, you brought forward the fact that, you know, the flight, et cetera, et cetera. So we came up with a threshold, and I think, again, Tallahassee is, as you point out, more of that threshold. So that you.
Oh, so we could take a city car to the
You
city.
just couldn't
Oh,
take it to Orlando.
Or you, exactly, or you could take it, you could fly, or you could take
okay,
a vehicle,
okay.
or you.
But thank you for being very specific. Thank you very much. Okay. Do I have a motion? Oh, I see a light on. Commissioner Malega.
We had also talked about the cost of the food reimbursement. As we all know, food prices are going up astronomically. And we had talked about increasing the breakfast and lunch for, especially if you're stuck in an airport, you're not gonna get but a bottle of water and a banana for $15. And we had talked about increasing that to 20, and it still shows it's 15 for both. Also, it helps encourage people to make better foods.
And my fear on that is you gotta eat anyway, but that's okay. So a response to that?
Well, these rates were pulled from the current government.
The federal government guidelines.
For the Southern Florida district.
How updated is it?
When we did the union negotiations back in November.
But we could do something different. I mean, that's the guideline, but could we make it 20?
And as you can see right below, it says rates may be modified from time to time.
There you go. Now, that's the thing that she could do. That's,
Right, it's
yeah.
built in here, but any changes to the actual language would
Right.
have to come before.
So let Carmen turn us down for a $20 lunch.
I mean, I know it sounds minimal, but there are some people who are on staff where, I mean, it's, you know, you want them to make healthy food choices, like obviously Andre does, because you can tell he takes care of his body, and you can either eat junk food. No, but I'm talking about somebody who's a controller and
Nice, but it really wasn't.
it is nice. We want to encourage people to make healthy food choices, and at that price point, when you're traveling, you're not going to get a healthy food choice.
Bring your lunch.
Commissioner, when we were in Tallahassee, remember, we were on crunch time. There was a restaurant across the street. They had a buffet. We had a choice between ordering on the menu or the buffet. We chose buffet because that was quick. We had a meeting within 30 minutes or so. That buffet was $25.
Yeah.
Before tip.
For lunch.
Right.
Before tip. And this was a crappy buffet. Sorry, think I didn't say what restaurant we were at, but I mean, and it's the truth. I mean, you look at that and it's like, okay, if you're going.
Or what are you gonna do? How are we gonna do? Let's figure something out.
If we change it, can we vote on it, or is that not allowed?
Attorney, is that a big enough? No, we haven't changed it. It's a resolution.
What would be,
No.
I'm just curious I don't know how many people travel, how often, what's the budgetary impact? Are we talking, you know, so right now, we are reimbursed about $55 a day. I don't know how many travel days are taken from our staff. If we increase this $20 and there's like 100 travel days.
How much traveling gets done?
That's what I'm curious about. What's the financial impact of increasing?
Well,
If it's
keep it-
$50, fine, increase it, but.
Keep in mind, each department has a travel budget. So whatever the travel is, it has to be within budget.
Right. Okay.
Do a lot of people travel?
Turn to finance.
It's not.
I see Peter. 2 people?
This year already.
You have.
Peter's doing it twice.
Okay,
At least once a month, supposed to be in Orlando for board meetings.
okay.
Is it mostly our directors?
Yeah,
The department has that travel?
Okay.
And conversely, there are other departments, if you take a look, there's
No travel.
minimal.
Right.
if any.
Yeah, I don't think there's a lot of people traveling, actually. Do you just want to make it $20 for breakfast and lunch?
I think that's fair.
Anybody, do I have consensus for that? Mr. Miller says, I hate you people.
And if you see, there's a note at that area, the policy.
Yeah, rates
May be modified from time to time per city manager. And one of our conversations had been around it. If you go to a region where the cost of living is much higher, certainly the meal rates are higher. So that will be, of course, the city manager's determination to understand that and accept it.
Right.
And they don't have to submit their receipts, do they? They just say, oh, they do?
Oh, yeah.
Yes, yes.
Oh.
You're talking to the finance.
I know. I've gone on work trips before where they're like, you give $50 a day.
Yeah, no,
and
that's
do
a
whatever you
state
want with it.
regulation.
We do not pay for dams because of the IRS rules.
That's right.
If anything that you do not have receipt for, I have to
Becomes
put on
pay.
it's income.
Right.
Then I have to
You don't want
do
that.
the income, and there's so much more work involved in tracking what is a true expense.
And you pay more taxes.
Right.
So it's.
And for-
And that's
Keep your receipt.
policy.
You have to keep the receipt. You don't pay sales tax and you cannot add it to your room charge. It's got to be a separate
That's
receipt.
right.
Yes.
Yes.
I've learned by mistake.
And we're not paying for alcohol and tobacco
No,
or flowers.
More flour.
We don't pay for flowers either. So if
I'm
you,
not buying you flowers, Mayor. You're done.
I don't know, that's an odd little combination of alcohol, tobacco or flowers. Or haircuts or grooming. No, I mean, those are obviously, make sense.
You would be amazed when people.
Really? Mr. Liberty, Mr. Ringgold, no flowers.
You know, there is another part under here. It says bag fees unless not included in the ticket price.
Well, yeah, because a lot of times you go, you buy
It
it.
says that we won't pay for them.
No, they will pay them if it's not included.
No, it says the city shall not pay for bag fees unless not included in the ticket
Right.
price, meaning the bag fee is paid separately from the ticket. So when somebody books the ticket, they got to pay for their bag at the same time. Is that what you want?
It could be either way.
You have
It
to,
could be either
It can be
way,
either way.
and it'll be paid for.
So they get one bag.
right.
Then it shouldn't be under the thing that says the city shall not pay for. It should say the city shall pay for one bag regardless of blah, blah, blah. It just reads weird.
Yeah, it does read weird.
Well, some airlines charge now. I mean, every airline's different. Some airlines, you think you get a cheap ticket and it's $150 for your bag.
Right. So should
That
it
actually
read-
happened to me
It
almost.
should read the city shall not pay for oversized bags,
That's on there.
but it says bag fees unless not, it just reads very weird.
So is this mention if I purchase a ticket and they don't charge for the first bag, you're not gonna pay for the second bag? That's kind of what this line is
Yeah.
saying.
But it says the city will cover the cost of one bag, so it doesn't matter if it's your first bag that's included with your ticket or the second bag. It's very confusing
Well,
language.
it says the city will cover the cost of one bag.
Right.
Yeah.
So there you go.
Then it shouldn't be under the city shall not pay for.
You just read it. It's how you read it. It's just how you read it.
Just saying, if your ticket includes the bag, we'll pay for it. But if your ticket does not include a bag and you do an individual bag charge, we will pay for it.
Yeah.
So either way, you get one bag. It's either included in the
Right.
price of the ticket, you don't get a second one, or one that's not included.
Ladies and gentlemen, we're getting a little behind.
I just wanted to sort of point that out. I wanted to point that out. This was our one chance to have a quick agenda, but no. All right, so are we gonna leave it at 15 or are we gonna change it to 20?
I've changed it to 20.
Okay, for breakfast and lunch.
You can include that in your.
Motion to approve with changes.
And motion to approve the whole thing?
Yes,
Okay. thank
with changes.
The 20 and the 20.
The 20 and
Removing
language.
section 3.
Section 3.
Yes.
A second, do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Now, moving on to item B. Resolution 24, 2022, authorizing the issuance of Series 2022 Consolidated Utility Bonds. Take it away.
Yeah, so as we've been talking over the past few months, we are going through the process of issuing new combined utility bonds. There we go. We're planning for approximately 48.5 million for the electric utility. The primary emphasis is on the Strip project and approximately 5 million for water and sewer. If you have questions and we need more detail, we've got
All sorts of folks.
Cal Louts and Joe Mason via Zoom from Davenport, city's financial advisors. We work with them. They've done most of the work. They're the smart ones. We just feed them information. They've done the bulk of the work to get us to a position where we know what we're gonna be able to issue, affordability, rates and everything. So if you have detailed questions related to the bond,
This is a revenue bond? Revenue bond?
yes.
Is it a good idea, sir? Why don't you come up for a second and just say, this is a good idea?
I would be happy to.
Just introduce yourself first.
Yes, ma'am. Kyle Laux with Davenport. Nice to see you all again. It's been a little while. Joe, as you remember, is on Zoom this evening. I think to Andre's point, so this, as you know, is sort of the end of a long planning process. So to your question, is it a good idea? It's clearly making investments in capital infrastructure for your electric utility, for water and sewer, many of which are either regulatorily required or, as Mr. Liberty would point out, required for the maintenance and reliability of the electric utility system. This really, when you think about it, for those of you that were on the commission a couple of years ago, it's just the second phase.
There was no one on the commission a couple of years ago. There was nobody on this dais ago.
Watching on TV, the second phase of what was started really in 2020. So during that whole process, there was a multi-year plan put in place to make these investments, primarily in the electric utility, but also in the water and sewer. And so this is really, in some respect, phase 2 of that. So in that sense, it's not new in that sense. It was planned for, it's gone into all of the modeling that Mr. Liberty and the rate consultants have put together. And it'll be basically, as the mayor mentioned, a revenue bond, meaning it is borrowed using the revenues of the system as the collateral, if you will, for the loan, which is a very typical process for enterprise funds, whether it's in Florida or across the country. And again, you're borrowing these dollars over a longer time period because you're making long-term investments in infrastructure. So that what you do is allow your ratepayers, whether it's electric, water, or sewer, to pay for those assets over time as they'll be used over time. It's all fixed rate. The bonds will be sold in about 3 weeks. This is the last action we need in the commission. And then working with the manager, staff, various directors, we'll be talking to the rating agencies next week, be in the market around the 12th of May, plus or minus.
And how long is the payback?
30 years.
Thank you. We have a quick question from Commissioner McCoy.
Well, a couple questions. The total bond is about 52 million. Off the top of your head, ballpark, I know we have a cap on the interest. We don't know what the interest rate is going to be. The market will tell us that, but there's a cap at 5, so we don't take an offer that's over that or over that. Off the top of your head, approximately what is the total bill when you include the principal plus the interest over that 30?
I'll give you a couple.
Right. It depends
So
on
the current market right now, you're right, we don't know the exact interest rate. We'll know that for a couple of weeks, depending upon the market, et cetera. Right now, we're probably in about the low 4% range. So we said that 5%
as a cap.
As the cap, that's right. And all the modeling has been done, is the planning. So what we shared with you has been done at a rate a little bit higher than that, probably in around the low 4% range. In terms of the actual interest rate, we'll know that in a couple of weeks.
So 4% at 30 years.
Yeah,
what's the total bill?
That amounts to about $87 million in that range. But again, I think the way you want to think about that is in annual increments, because it will be paid over your 30-year time period. And so that doesn't all come due in 1 year. It doesn't hit the rate.
It's about 3 million a year was the number I saw in the backup. That was the expected.
Right. And hopefully it's less than that, depending on rates and a couple of the variables, but that order of magnitude, that's about right.
And then a question that's probably more for Ed than it is for you, but either whoever knows, has the 3 million debt service already been built into the rate increase that we recently approved, or will that require an additional rate increase?
Nope.
Madam Mayor, Megan, for the record, and Liberty Electric Utility Director, the answer to that is partial. So a portion of it, approximately $750,000 of debt service is built into the electric utility rates already. And also already built in, correct? That was approved effective January 1. So the interest, the debt service actually steps up. I think it goes to about $1.5 million, and it goes up 2.9. That's not 100% electric. That's split between electric and water and sewer. So the electric component is a smaller component. So in all of our forward remodeling, though, only future rate increases that you saw, it contemplated these investments being made.
So it's included.
Right, so it's included.
Thank you.
So we will not, I want to know clearly that we will not have any rate increases
Based on,
by selling this bond.
Not immediately, though, when we look at rates again, after we go through the budget, we'll see what rates we need. There'll be a lot of other things that are coming down the pipe, additional operating expenses. This is separate from fuel. It's at the fuel charges.
No, I
Just
understand.
base energy.
Fuel is separate.
There will be rate increases down the road to help pay for this. In addition to what's already built into the rates, we did not build a full debt service into the existing rates. We built in a partial amount. We didn't know that this would ultimately all come together, right? So we assumed it was for a partial year. So we built the first $750,000 into the rates. And now we would have to adjust the rates to accommodate the increase.
So if I, off the top of the head calculation, the rate increase that we passed in January will cover of the roughly 3 million a year debt service that we're accepting for the next 30 years. 750K of that has been built into our rate, and the remaining 225, yeah, that's right, million needs to be covered by additional. Okay, you clarify.
That you're assuming the entire debt service, which is 2.9 million on the high end, is attributed to electric. It's not 100% electric.
Okay,
So we
but
would
the
not,
bigger portion.
right, the bigger portion is what we would not recover in electric rates. The debt service, which is for non-electric items.
Sure.
So you would take the 2.9 million and factor that down to the percentage that's really related to electric.
Which is about 80.
Well, it's about 40 million of the 50 plus million.
Yeah,
right.
It's about
So you would
little under 80.
You would factor it down and say that would be the amount. And then we would look at all of the other operating expenses, but keep in mind as well, annually, other revenues come up. So we have other revenues that increase. So we have more customers each year, so we're collecting more revenues. So it's not automatic that it would happen. Yes, we will have rate increases going forward. The exact amounts have not been determined yet.
Wasn't that part of the projections that we saw? There was like a plus 3.1% or something year over year,
Right, every
10
year.
years we agreed to.
Those were total revenue increases. Not all of those would come from rate increases.
Understood.
But we did build that in those models. Remember, we had options A, B, C, D, and I think, Commissioner, you actually had another model that you asked to have run as well by Stantec. But it was all contemplated in those models of where our rates would be going. And then we did a competitive comparison to where other utilities in the area were going, and they were going up by much more than we contemplated us going.
and if we don't do this, our system continues to age, be inefficient. I mean, this is not, we're not doing this to have a party. It's
Right,
yeah,
it's not a constant. The system is deteriorating. I think we made that
very clear.
very clear what's coming. But the question is good. There will be a rate impact from this. Rate impacts are always a concern. They should be. We held rates constant and actually decreased rates 3 times in 2014 through till January of 2022 when we went up slightly.
Yeah.
And we're substantially below the competition. Our typical 1,000 kilowatt hour per month customer is paying at least $10 less than they would across the street.
Good to hear.
And I would say for perspective, just industry-wide, that's going to be the same for you and anyone else that is in either your neighborhood that you're competing with, whether it's electric or water or sewer. Overall, whether it's inflation on the capital cost side, the operating costs, the fuel costs, et cetera, right or wrong, it's just kind of a fact of life right now that we need to be thinking about and planning for future rate increases to make sure that utilities are fully funded and up to par in terms of operational needs, regulatory needs, et cetera. So that whether it helps at all, you're not alone in the most likely need to have to raise rates incrementally in the future, depending upon what happens with all the variables that they play into it.
And I'll add to that, I would not want listeners at home to think that we're only looking at things that increase revenue by increasing rates. We're also looking at ways that we can save money and increase revenues that don't come from rate increases. For example, as we bring on new customers, engage in new activities, we look at ways to reduce costs down the road. Keep in mind that on our power contracts alone, we saved over $9 million a year. And we've been reaping those benefits. So we've done a lot to control rates. That wasn't that long ago. Our rates were higher than the competition. And today we're substantially lower. It is our intention to try to stay there.
Commissioner Stokes?
Well, and I just want to add maybe an obvious statement of the cost that comes along with deferred maintenance that we've been seeing throughout with our roads, with our pipe, like everything else. So I would be nervous to delay this work even further, especially interest rates are pretty good right now. So if we delay it, we are going to end up paying more later for the actual improvements, and we'll be paying more in interest. So I motion to approve.
Second.
Do you want to say anything or just, you're in good shape?
You guys
To
can
the
still
point,
talk.
I have to say, to the point of deferred maintenance, it's spot on. I mean, in
Yeah, and
the
that's
last month, we've incurred an extra $250,000 in operating expense on 2 transformers that should have been replaced by now.
Yeah. I remember the
Just to get
nineties, they were
just to
talking
get them
about
through
fixing.
another year or two until we can replace them. The stuff that should have been done, it's another $250,000 of treasure that's going to be spent on these 2 assets that are going to be retired within a year or two.
And that's one of the things that, you know, the past year we've learned that we are the ones sort of taking the bull by the horns and getting this stuff going. So motion to approve. Do I have a second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
I think the pencil behind your ear is a very good look for a money guy. No, thank you very much. It's good to see you again. Okay, now we are on C. The fourth resolution 28-2022, fourth capital budget amendment for fiscal year 2022 to amend the appropriated electric utility CIP.
Yes, ma'am. So this is an accompanying item to the bond approval that we just did. We had to amend the CIP because there was an increase in the short project, the system hardening reliability improvement project. There was an increase in that value, so we had to change the CIP, but there was a reduction. There's a $12 million reduction. Another item, so the overall ask for borrowing in the electric utility is below the original projection. So this item is just amending the CIP to reflect the change in the SHRIP and the reduction in the other item.
Do I have a motion?
Motion to approve.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you very much. Resolution 25-2022, eighth operating budget amendment for fiscal year 2022 to appropriate $70,900 from fund balance to support the addition of new assistant building
Motion
official.
to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you.
Yay.
The vacancies in that department are very disturbing.
I sound like you're right. You can go home.
No, seriously? Oh, honey.
You're getting an
If you
assistant.
just,
Do you think that you're gonna have to like, get in the rink?
I got 3 hours of work done, so.
well, there you go.
Come back anytime.
Yeah, yeah, that department is, you're busy and you don't have enough people.
Absolutely.
Okay. Resolution, have a good evening, Peter.
I will.
See you Thursday. Resolution 26-2022. Third capital budget amendment for fiscal year 22 to appropriate $150,000 from the fund balance to support the nitrification action plan. I think nitrification action plan. Uh-oh, I see a light going. Water aid study. You are not keeping your word, Mr. McCoy. You're gonna owe me 2 more meetings.
I had just approved the last
Well, you did. Thank you.
one, but quickly.
We're getting punch drunk. Take it away. Do we have a motion?
Do we have a presentation on that one?
Do you have a presentation on that one?
Not so much a presentation. This $150,000 request is in previous capital projects have been improvements to the 2-inch water main that the Bryant's department has been working on. This $150,000 request is a study to determine how effective that system is and make any future recommendations to the system.
And is Brian on? I see his name there, but I don't know if
He's there.
And from what I read, he even had problems getting anywhere to like give us
I hear
bids
him
for this
coming.
job.
Yes, I'm on, Commissioner.
He had problems with people even coming in and giving bids for this job.
So just a few questions. My understanding is that this is in relation to our, I think, chlorination, our disinfectant procedures. We like the water effects, sound effects. Towards part.
Good, yeah.
That's the pencil behind here. But my 2 questions, one is that we get lots of reports of lots of flushing, and I've had some people say, geez, the flushing is a lot more than it used to be. Whether that's true or not, but I have heard that from people. So if this goes in the direction of better disinfection and less flushing, I'm all for it.
That's correct.
The other question I had is, why is it called nitrification action? What are we putting? Is this because of ammonia?
Yeah, that's correct, because we use combined residual with ammonia and chlorine. When they
Got it.
disassociate out in the pipelines, you get what's called nitrification. So the intent of this study is to reduce that and to reduce the ultimate amount of flushing.
Cool.
When you speak of flushing, you're not referring to flushing of toilets. Can
No,
you,
hydrant.
can you
Hydrant
let people who are listening know?
Hydrants, yeah. That's a lot of money for a study, but we're not the experts. Motion, do I have a motion?
Motion approved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye, thank you very much.
Thank you, Brian.
Thank you, Brian. Sorry you had to
Thank
wait.
you.
Wait.
F 27, 2022. Motion to approve.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Excellent.
Great presentation. Very, very
You guys,
compelling.
can I just say though, who knew that we would approve like $80 million this quick? But you know, we want to talk about 75,000 for like 2 hours.
No, we talked about $15.
And listen, we will,
Yeah, we did.
because we count every penny.
City Attorney, do you have a report?
One back. Nope.
What?
Other than I already told you, other cities are following your lead.
Oh, are we the leaders in Palm Beach County? I know
Mhm.
other counties did this, but were we the?
I think was the first one.
I think we were.
I think by passing it tonight, I think you're first.
Yeah.
No.
Follow-up question on the FAU study for the district voting conundrum we might be in. Do we have an update on that?
Yes, thank you. I'm so glad you brought that up. Absolutely. Yes, we are going to have a presentation by FAU representative, I forget his name right now.
Doctor or somebody.
At the next commission,
Somebody.
at the next meeting, I think that's May 2nd.
I think May 2nd,
May
May
2nd.
3rd, yeah.
Yes, so they will do a presentation to explain the process for redistricting
Okay.
and what's all involved in their work and answer any questions that you have before we embark in engaging them in the process.
I'd like to make sure that we really push that out so that people, the community knows that this presentation is happening, so they understand what they voted for.
I forgot something I would like to bring up. Last year, we all had the pleasure of being at the Lakewood High School graduation. This year, the high school graduation that we've been invited to is May 3rd at 6 o'clock.
Is made.
It's a Tuesday.
Oh, is there a
And-
conflict?
There's a Tuesday conflict.
Yeah, right. Well, I don't know if
Yeah.
that's a Tuesday or
It's a
not.
Tuesday, yeah.
Yeah.
It's Tuesday, May 3rd, which is our commission meeting, and I would love to be there. I think we'd all love to be there.
Yeah, I definitely.
Can we do something about
Can
that?
we do something about that?
Can we move it a day earlier, a day later?
Madam-
Graduation?
Graduation is in the evening?
Yeah.
It is 6 o'clock, and it's huge, it's so cool. And again, we're really trying to work on support.
Wear comfortable shoes when you do attend, because you stand for a very long time on the stage.
The next day.
Let me just look.
Or
Madam City Manager and Madam Mayor, I am pulling up the calendar.
Okay,
So May 4th, there's a PZB meeting in the chambers,
PZB.
Oh,
and then Planning Zoning Board, and then Thursday is the Education Task Force, which I know Commissioner Stokes is involved with.
Could we,
I'm out of town then for the week after that.
And you're out of town on the, it showed on the 5th,
could we
starting.
move the education?
I'm actually available on the 5th. I'm leaving town on the 6th.
How about Monday, May 2nd? That was a workshop plan.
I think that was what I.
Commissioner
Oh,
Stokes is
yes,
not
yes.
available.
I'm so
Yeah.
sorry.
Yeah, and I have a,
Right.
so,
What if we just move, can we move the educational team, you think, Kim?
bump them a minute.
Well, they're gonna meet, they'll just have to meet without me.
If they can meet in the conference room, right?
Yeah.
At 2 o'clock, could you move your meeting up to 2 or 3 o'clock?
Or move it earlier.
May 3rd?
wait, it might move the commission meeting.
What time is the graduation?
Graduation.
6.
Six. I don't know how
So we
heavy,
get
how
out
heavy
of
is the
here.
agenda, do you know?
If you, If you started at 3,
Let's
you'd be
ask
done by
Melissa.
5:30, 5:40.
Yeah, but no, it takes you to drive out to the
parking and everything is.
parking, suiting up, all that stuff.
The May 3rd agenda, which we're having agenda review for tomorrow, and the packet's supposed to go out Thursday, is not very heavy. However, sounds like there are 2 more items to be added that I wasn't aware of. One is tonight, the ordinance on commercial
Right.
notifications, and then the FAU presentation about redistricting. I don't have either of those on the agenda.
I mean, that could be, I mean, that's not emergency.
Can we move it to Thursday, the 5th?
Can we do it early on Thursday?
The 5th.
I will make whatever on the 5th work for everybody.
Oh, did you say you're leaving?
No, I'm leaving the 6th. I could actually do the 5th.
Could we do a 4 o'clock meet or well, I don't know, the public.
Yeah,
has to be-
I mean, if we stay till the 6th, if we hit it at 6 on the Thursday, the 5th. And what happened to Wednesday?
Wednesdays,
Wednesday's the planning and zoning board, and they're in the chambers.
Yep, but the 5th we don't. Could we move it to the 5th?
I'm good.
To the 5th?
Ronaldo, everything?
Yeah. It's Cinco de Mayo too. by the way.
Cinco de Mayo.
Who's bringing the tacos and
We all
tequila?
have tequila and tacos.
There you go.
I'll bring the tequila.
I'll bring the cornitas and the lemon.
Right, great. We got a part. So can we do that to move into the 6th and
At 6 p.m.
at 6 p.m.?
Yes.
Same time, different day.
At 6 p.m.
Okay, so what I will do then is, since I was contacted by the school, I will tell them that we will be in attendance. We will all be in attendance at the Lake Worth High School graduation. It's huge. It's amazing to be up there.
We'll see if we have folks to make it.
So, are we done? Do we have a vote? We should vote. A motion.
A motion to move the May 3rd meeting to May 5th, same time, same place.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Thank you. The kids are really,
Cool.
when they all
And
come, they
motion
get
is
it.
made to accommodate the graduation of the.
Absolutely, it's for the kids. They
Let
come
the
over, they
record
get their
show.
diploma and they shake it. How many times did we say congratulations?
A
By
million.
the end of the day, like our hands, it was like 600 kids. Yeah, congratulations.
I'm seriously, though, you need to make sure you wear good shoes because standing on that stage.
Well, you sit for quite a while, but yeah.
I have a little question totally unrelated to high school, but to the city attorney. We put in some sort of a non-cost support for the process with HB1. Is that?
For the Southern
That
Poverty Law
lawsuit.
Center.
Yeah, and are we fully fired up and have we?
I think we just added our name to it. We don't have to do
I
it.
think we just have a need to.
Yeah, we
Well,
didn't.
I got something from somebody who lives here, who works for Southern Poverty, and she said that they were still waiting for something, so can we?
That was, if that was that fee thing, that's been resolved.
Could you forward that to me?
Yeah.
I'll call tomorrow and I'll follow up on that.
Okay. That's good.
And like, my substitute taught there in 1981. So.
I love it. You guys went there.
It showed off my,
You went there. You went
I
there.
went there. I've been to many graduations as a teacher.
Ah, of course. Well, you get to be on the stage now.
You went?
I was substitute teacher there.
Okay, I was gonna say, you were in Staten Island.
I substituted out there a few days.
Put you in a black fancy robe and
Yeah.
Is there a dress code for what we need to wear?
business casual.
Business casual, and they do actually have a robe if you want to put a robe on. I still have to.
They had us put a robe on.
Not the hats. You don't wear the hat.
No, they don't do it.
Wear your shorts.
You don't get fancy tassels.
I should order mine, like that lawyer hat.
Motion to.
Glenn, a robe with the purple, right? I may just go ahead and buy myself.
Motion to approve to, yeah, whatever it is.
Second,
Second.
all in favor?
Aye.
Have a great night.
Thank you.
Good job.
Well done.
That was record.
I don't know if you want this.
I know, I want it. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Welcome back.
Yeah.
Yes, yes.
Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow. Oh, so that 2:00 meeting is canceled with Kerner? That 2:00, yes, with Kerner, good. Sit down.
All right.
But earlier than most nights.
Okay, good. Okay. you have your bridge. Before we had to come down here, like, oh, high waters, high waters.
That's right.
And I was just thinking about this guy in his shorts. And I was like, this is the one meeting where we have to come down there.
I know, right? I'm like trying to tuck in my shirt.
Yeah, yeah, you're casual tonight.
Yeah.
You gotta be ready.
You want a carpool Thursday?
It's a performance.
That's Thursday?
It is, it's a performance, this thing.
It is this Thursday. It's at 9. We could certainly carpool.
It's kind of funny, they showed.
I was supposed to go to the Everglades tomorrow.
Oh, the Everglades. You need to take